City Treasurer, Mr. Smethnick. Committee of the Whole. Recommendation that council resolve itself into Committee of the Whole, the time being 3:05. I need a mover. Thanks, Malcolm. Seconded by Ian. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have the Shuswap Healing Center update. Project Manager Brian Marr and Scott Builders Inc. General Manager Will Woodward. And they are electronic. Yep.
Happy holidays, Your Worship and Council. It's nice to be with you again. Congratulations to our new council members, and Your Worship, congratulations on your becoming mayor of Sicamous. We are pleased to be presenting an update for the project for the Shuswap Healing Center to council. And we have a brief presentation that will walk you through to provide new council members a bit of an understanding of what's going on, and existing council members a brief update. I'm joined by Will Woodward, who is the project manager for the construction side of it, and I am the development manager with Access Projects, working for Kelly Bennett and the DOS. Okay, so we'll kind of go through the presentation. Feel free to either stop me as I go through, because we're fairly informal in this part of it, or if you want to wait and ask questions at the end, that either is fine for us. Okay, so next slide, please. We can just scroll through. We'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we're gathered is the traditional lands of the Secwepemc Nation, including the Splatsin, and we acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of all the Indigenous people of British Columbia. So, sorry, next slide first, sorry. What we've done so far is the site at 200 Main Street. We've accomplished a number of our advancement goals to keep the project moving forward. The development permit was approved in October this year. The geotechnical field work, which is the investigation of the soils as it relates to the ability to construct on it, compaction testing, and what types of structure that can be placed on it, was completed. The archaeological investigation was ongoing. A number of pre-colonial artifacts were found and additional permits and studies required. This does have an impact on the project start date relative to construction. We'll come to that here shortly. And the environmental phase 1 study, which is necessary prior to construction of the project, is going to be completed in the next 3 months or so. But that does not affect in any way the progress of the construction project. So the area of the archaeological study, so 200 Main Street, they discovered between 300 and 350 pre-colonial artifacts. These artifacts they found as part of an investigation that was intended for the purpose of determining whether the site was an area of interest for pre-colonial artifacts and pre-colonial occupation. It is in fact a site of interest. A permit is now required to be submitted to and issued by the BC government and is not available at this time. It's a long process to get it. The area where the artifacts were discovered is in this blue area, and you can see that it sits within the footprint of the building. So what we're at the process now is we've engaged a third-party consultant who is specifically skilled in this area of expertise. They will work through the permit process with the DOS and ourselves to determine what is required to properly document and catalog the status of the site and the artifacts. It at this point does not prevent the site from being developed for the healing center, but does cause a delay as we carefully document what's existing on the site. The development permit was approved in October. This was a piece of the development permit submittal, and that is a public document. So it just shows the building size relative to the parking lot and the green space which is on the left side of the page, or the west side of the site, which is not a part of the project development. And more details on the DP are available. This is just a concept view of what the completed building will look like as you're looking at it from the parking lot, heading into the entry of the building. The architect is Douglas Cardinal, who is arguably Canada's most famous living Indigenous architect. This just gives us a bit of a view from the main street and shows what the building will look like on completion as you walk down Main Street. There's a view slightly elevated of what it would look like from the green space. So looking from the lake west to east. What we're doing now, Karen Eastland and ourselves are working on the building programming and usage of the building. There are several major stakeholders who are going to be heavily engaged in the project. So the community health clinic, which is operated by the DOS and run by Karen Eastland. BC Interior Health, if I go clockwise around the little map there, BC Interior Health and Snow Division. We are working closely with them to determine what influence that they want to have, what items that they'll incorporate into the project. Our partners at Splatseen and other First Nations groups in the area, in the Shuswap regional area, will have input, and we're all directly engaged in meetings with Splatseen on a frequent basis. They are at the table with us. Eagle Valley and other community partners are also engaged with Karen and the programming of the project. So all this will get put together to ensure that there's enough participation and influence for the layout. And so if we look at the next slide, these are the major elements that will go inside the building. So the primary care, community health clinic, and that's the relocated from Finlayson Place. There will be a number of community use areas. There'll be 2 or residential apartments for visiting practitioners to come. There'll be a significant First Nations component, which will include a dedicated healing area that the Splatseen and other First Nations group will directly program. And then there'll be a number of mixed use health and healings areas, which would include areas for behavioral health, chiropractic, physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, those types of things. So all those pieces will be combined into the building and will ensure that as we move through the project, that it'll be dedicated into the space plan. But that gives you some idea of what's going in the building. Okay. So our project schedule, we've identified 4 major components or benchmark pieces. The first piece, as we were just talking about, is programming and stakeholder engagement for the interior design. So that will occur over the next 6 to 8 months of time to ensure that we've got that all properly addressed. The archaeological permits, which we touched on, that is ongoing now. We've made the application to the government for the permit, and the investigation timetable will take us through probably to late fall this year coming up. Beginning in the fall, we'll start with the detailed design and the building permit. So that will take the programming stakeholder engagement and turn it into an actual interior design. The exterior of the building, of course, has already been designed, and we'll move through the permitting process. We expect to have that permit come the end of this year, 2023, which will allow us to start construction in spring 2024 as we wait for the frost to come out of the ground. And it will take us roughly 16 to 18 months to complete the building to have it open for summer 2025. So that's the estimated timetable. And it assumes, most importantly, that the archaeological permit comes through by the end of 23. So that's the update to the project. And now we'd like to open the floor, or council, if you have any questions you'd like to ask Will or myself relative to the update of the project, even if it's an item that you didn't see a slide on, we're more than happy to address your questions.
Okay, council. Okay, Councilor Bailey.
Oh,
Councilor McCabe.
any update on cost?
The current budget, and Karen can speak more fully to that, the building cost estimate has not changed. We do anticipate there will be a cost related to the archaeological investigation. but we will not know what that cost is until we have the permits and it determines the field work. But as of this time, we have not updated the Class C budget that was provided to council in 2022. We do understand that a budget needs to be updated for February 2023. So we'll be working with Karen to update that budget as required with 2023 pricing and hopefully a better estimate on what the archaeological component will be.
Thanks.
Councillor McKay.
Thank you. Yeah, because Splatton's our partner, can they put in the application for the archaeological permit, or do we have to as the owner?
That's a great question. So DOS as the owner has submitted the application. We've made Splatsina aware of it. And we actually had the conversation with the archaeological consultant and we said, look, First Nations are a partner in this. And their position, the consultants is that it's out of everybody's hands. It's now gets referred to the BC government at a provincial level to deal with, because anything of archaeological significance on any lands other than banned lands, it requires a permit.
Go ahead, Councillor McKay.
Thank you. It's the same as question as Councillor Bailey. I'm concerned. I thought we were going to break ground. Understand that if we have Interior Health wanting to be an anchor tenant, that there's some layout that they have to design with their in-house people. But I think if we talk to them, we can somehow fast track that. And I think maybe at a political level, somehow we can get that permit a bit faster too. I'm worried about cost escalation to the point that it's not feasible to do. And if we wait another year, there's going to be a cost escalation. I can't see how there couldn't be. And I don't know if we can afford that. So if we put more money or resources into somehow trying to get that permit a bit quicker and deal with Interior Health fast track somehow at a political level above your project management level, I still think we've done the public engagement for the interior and what's going to be in there. We've spent over a year on that already. I don't know why that's part of your schedule there that you're showing that we have to redo that. I might be missing something, but I feel strongly that we need to break ground in the spring, and the two critical path components, archaeological, with all due respect to Splats, and they need to be addressed. I'm not saying they don't, but if we can get that permit faster and address them in a more timely manner, same with Interior Health, I think we need to put more of a political emphasis on this, because it's going to cost our local taxpayers more if we wait another year.
Yeah, I don't disagree that if we can advance the timetable to get to our original schedule of a late summer start, it would be beneficial to the project. And we'll certainly be working with the Terra Archaeologica, who is the designated consultant for it, to see if we can move it through more quickly. But if there's a way that council or your worship, the mayor, can assist us, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Kelly, did you want to add anything to that?
No, thank you, Brian, for giving us a good update. Further to Malcolm's point about working with Interior Health to speed it up. When we had our meeting with Interior Health last month, I believe it was in November, the impression was that they have their own process, and that if we want them to be a player at our table, we need to go into the queue, and eventually we'll be at the top of the queue, and they have their team that does their design. So I don't know how quickly we'll be able to move Interior Health with their own layers. However, we do know the key contacts. They have been here. We're in constant communication. So the faster we can move that, the better. And the reason why the programming piece is taking longer is it's taken this long to actually have a quasi commitment from Interior Health for the inside piece, and they're part in the inside is really important. They bring the lab with them, they bring the public health service, they bring all those key elements. So to not have them on board, I think is critical. So I hear you, and we'll work as quickly as we can with them, with their process.
Thanks, Kelly. Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, I understand it's a bit of a catch-22. We need this to be sustainable to reduce the cost of the taxpayers. And to have an anchor tenant like that is super important. But at the same time, if we let it escalate to another year, what are those costs offset by our anchor tenant? You know, it's a delicate balance for sure. But I'm just gonna push as hard as I can to make sure we have
We do, that's perfect.
I think Kelly will push as quickly as possible as well. Go ahead, Councilor Evans.
Thanks. And I think that when there's the council meeting, we can let our partners know that, and they can help put some feet on the gas pedal.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Councilor Bailey.
I didn't see that presentation in the council package. I might have been looking at the wrong one, but can we get a copy of that?
Most definitely.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you all. Have a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Bye all.
Hi, Brian.
Okay, so we're just gonna have an adjustment to the agenda here. We're just swapping a couple items, which I should have mentioned earlier, but they've already been included in an amendment. So we're gonna have the Chamber of Commerce update, Executive Director Sheila DeVoe, Chamber with a Chamber of Commerce presentation. Sheila.
And thank you for switching with me. I've got another that I did. Tuesday. So, yes, I'm Sheila DeVoe. I am the Executive Director for the Chamber of Commerce at NOSIP United. And we usually I do a quarterly report for council, but since we have so many new councilors, I thought this was a great opportunity.
Right.
And bring everybody up to speed on what we're doing in the chamber, because the chamber isn't just about the chamber. We also look after the visitor center, and we actually have a third charter that has just come on board, which I'll tell you about as I go through my presentation that we're pretty excited about. One of the things I really like to touch on though is our visitor center, because it's very important for our community, and let you know what our statistics have been. It gives you a good idea as to how we are picking up the pace here with our visitors coming to our community, especially within the last 3 years. We've seen some very unusual numbers, but we're certainly seeing some really positive outcomes. So the first set of statistics we are from January to September last year as compared to this year. And what we do in the visitor center is we look at the number of parties that come in. We are talking about mobile ones, so people that we would see on the street as well. Then we break it down into the number of actual visitors, because sometimes you'll have a big family or a large group come in. And the same goes when we look at the amount of what we call mobile. Mobile is usually if we're out on site or at a place like what we had this summer, which was the concession and the beachfront. So you can see a substantial increase in our visitors finally returning to our community. We also have a look at the stats in comparison just for the summer. These ones are really most interesting for us because that's when we are at our business here and we have our summer students, and we do a lot more tracking. We have the capacity to do that. You can see in June and both this year and in the previous year, not so much because we weren't out on the street yet, but you can certainly see how things started to pick back up. So it's really great to see those numbers picking up again. One of the other things that we do is we look and see where people are coming from. So again, with what was going on in the last 3 years, we had very few people coming from outside of the country. Now you're starting to see that pick up. In particular, people from Alberta even dropped off this year, where last year this was their favorite place to come. It was close, it was easy for them to visit us. So we're seeing all of those significant changes. You can see them right through the summer, but you can also see them throughout the entire year as people are now starting to travel again. Usually we see a lot of our European travelers in the month of September. This year we finally saw them coming back, where you can see last year we had 3. So it was a big hit to our community, but it's great to see people coming back. We did have 5 summer students this year, so the chamber does manage the visitor center. It's funded by the district citizens, by Destination BC, and as well we get the higher summer students. So we were able to have 5. One of our big stories this year, I'm sure you probably heard, we had 2 really nice bikes that we used to have our students use to get around town. And unfortunately, they were stolen and absolutely destroyed. We had a new business come to town who very generously offered to replace those bikes. And they're quite necessary to get the kids around, especially if they're taking out material for marketing. One of those bikes has a little trailer that attaches to it even. So one is actually an electric bike. So it makes it easier for them to travel through the town. So thank you to Garvin out at Pinnacle Resort. If anybody's not familiar who Pinnacle Resorts is the old KOA, is now Pinnacle Resorts. And so it King Baker Creek Resort out on 97. So it was really nice of them to do that for us. The other thing that we had this year that we was brand new to us is the concession open up. We had our students working at the concession for 7 days a week, and we had them there late in the evenings for music in the park and for movie in the park as well. It's not a concession in the true sense of the word, where it's not a commercial kitchen, so they only sell prepackaged food. So there would be popcorn and popsicles and things that moms, need 5 minutes after they put their blanket down with their 4 kids and everything else that is hungry. So we were able to meet that need for them this year. And we also were able to have a barbecue there on Monday nights for music in the park. So that worked out really well. That pretty much was our visitor center for the year. The chamber, just to let you know, we've had a few projects and we've got some partners, like I said, that we've been working with. The first project that we were working on is we created a brand new directory for the community that has every business in town, not just chamber members. Chamber members are, however, featured, and you can pick it up for free in our office. So a lot of businesses these days don't have a telephone book, or they don't have a telephone number that's listed anywhere because they use cell numbers. So anybody that we've got information on is now listed. By all means, please pick one up. We worked together with Carly on the visitor center guide, and I'm sure she'll speak to that. We're looking forward to seeing that come back out this next year. The chamber had done a visitor center guide just to keep things going over the last several years until we did have terrific development in place. So we were about 9/3 of the line, and it flew off, I thought, quite well to the point where it had so to get working on that. If you've been over to the arena lately, you'll see that we have a brand new board sign over at the ice. And you will see that there's that little extra logo on it. That is our brand new partner. So as of November, the chamber and the youth partnership. The hopefully curious that we have a museum. We have a lot of senior members that are involved in their work that are finding it very difficult to keep current and to keep the museum going. So we have offered them the opportunity to be continuing with their board as an advisory board. So they provide us with, however, we're going to visit the work. One of their senior members has a very generous endowment to the museum that will go on for perpetuity to ensure that there is a body in there for the rest of the days. So that's going to help us because right now we have Hannah who kind of wears 2 or 3 hats, just like I do. They're going to be ready to allow us to have a staff member in there that the museum. We'll be looking at bringing on a summer student this year that will be dedicated to just the work museum as well. You're going to see some major changes. It's going to actually have exhibits. It's going to tell the story of Sycamoose. So there, the goal will now be for that all to be up and running kind of the long weekend in May. So that's the goal that we've set out for them. And I think we'll be able to use some of the 22 bodies that we have at the Eagles Nest. So a couple of the other things that we worked on, the chamber was part of a consortium that was with the rest of the chambers in this region. We were able to access some funding that allowed us to put on some programming, and together with economic development here, Carly hosted a couple of these for us as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get enough people to come out for the emergency preparedness. Probably would have been better last year, but we'll continue to try again. We had a very successful digital marketing workshop, and we offered foundation services for new hires in the community as well. And they were all very successful, and we continue to try and do that in the coming year. We were able to bring back this after business last year, which was good to be able to be out in the public again and see people. We actually had a very different venue. We tried to keep things outside for the next little while until everybody became more comfortable being inside. So we did one over at the mall, which was great because the mall was now for the first time since I've lived here completely occupied. So it was really great to have some all of that. Music in the park, can't say enough about this. We going to actually let this go at one point because we couldn't afford to do it. But the district of St. Louis came together with us to help us put it back on, along with chamber members who actually paid for evening sponsorship, and with Saskatoon who contributed funds as well. We had 8 great nights of music. I can't say enough for how well it was attended, how much it was enjoyed, and how much we appreciated the support of our community. We did start off, we did have to start off, unfortunately, at the nice park. And I'd say unfortunately only because we had to carry everything back and forth. The concession was over here at the beach park. But it did work out in the end. Unfortunately, it was a little bit high water for us at the beach park. We couldn't offer it there. Our other event that we did is with the different siblings. We have family fun day, and every year that just gets bigger and bigger and more fun. We had our park road boat races, which are always a big hit. Nobody ever signs up for it, and then the day comes and like everybody shows up. It's the thing every year, and there's a couple of families that actually love to come to that. We also have this and have a building contest. With schematics, shovels, and they are ready to go. So there's money at the end of the day, so that's what really is. One of our extra duties this year is we actually hosted the municipal election that brings you all here today. They were quite well attended, very interesting. It was interesting to see the questions from our community out. And it was really nice to see people come out and actually listen to the hour. So I thank you all for taking part in that. It wasn't easy, I know, for some people it was the first time public speaking. But I saw as the presentations went on, things got easier and easier for everybody. And we also offered that out into Malacqua and had Mona and Natalie to one of the other events that we took part in this year was in Sled Sick Moose. That's not just looking at that. Yes, like Sick Mouse, and we went out one night and helped them out when they were actually video. That was a great night. There were so many people out there. Unfortunately, it was like Halloween. There was a big hockey game going on, so people were trying to spread themselves out that night. But it was a really good turnout, and I can see that being a future. And we're hoping to. Already told you about our museum partnership. And like I said, I can't say how excited we are about that and looking forward to get it going. And we recently held our Excellence Business Awards, not our Business Excellence Awards, which is what we've done in years gone by, where we've had voting. We just didn't see the end of that this year, since we had not had an event for 3 years. But what we did realize is we had so many new businesses that had opened. In spite of everything that was going on, we had other people who had invested in our community and taken over existing businesses. And then we had people who had actually made some significant changes to keep their businesses running. And we wanted to recognize all of those people. And there was a fair number of them. And 64 of them came out. We had probably one of the better evenings that we've had in a very long time. As I said, people were just so anxious to be together again. It was a lot of fun. It's very profitable for the chamber because the chamber is funded strictly by our membership and any fundraising. So that was a fundraising event for us as well. police were working on a bring back Muslim stage. So I was approached by Jake Hewitt a few months back. It's talking about bringing back Muslim days. I have not been here for Muslim events, but I have been made very aware of it. We've had a few meetings with people in our community that are very interested in visiting these types of days. Never go back, but you can certainly go forward. So we're looking at making some significant changes to it, but bringing some sort of event here that would be wrapped around a weekend where there's a big ball tournament in town. We have offered for any community organization to be part of this, to set something up, and it's a way for them to fundraise for themselves. So everybody sort of gets a little piece of the pie and gets an opportunity to be part of something bigger. So that's something that we'll be working on in next year as well. And then we have a few things that we're working on internally. We've got some new bylaws, some policies, and we're going to be revising our strategic plan now to include the museum as one of our partners. We've got a busy year ahead, but I look forward to telling you all about it next year. But that was what we did this year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheila. That's great.
Do you have any questions for Sheila? Go ahead, Gordon.
You mentioned the drop in Alberta stats from 21 to 22. Did you say was that related to the highway closure, you think, or what? Yeah, it was. Okay.
Some people, because they were finding alternate routes, especially for flooding, right? They don't have a way to stay down there, so.
Okay. Thank you. And then one other question, the election costs. Do you mind sharing, like, what was your election cost? Did it cost the chamber? Because I know it's not one of your functions, but.
It isn't something that we actually had budgeted for, and because that, you're limited to places that you can actually use for large roof. We did go to the seniors. There's a cost involved, so we were at a few $1,000s that we had not anticipated being, because we have to pay daily rentals. We had, they have a lovely system over there, but it's not set up. So somebody does need to go over and help the seniors at some point, because they offer, screens and that you can use. So I had to bring somebody in to actually set that up. So now there's another cost involved. We've got labor costs and we've got equipment costs. So as I said, we were out of $2,000 by the time we did 6 forums like that.
Oh, yeah, that was what I was going to ask. Is that the forum at 6 Mile and Malacqua included in that 2,000, or is that?
Malacqua was free as far as the space, but I did have to pay to have the technology brought in. It was 6 Mile, no. We were charged by the CSRD to use Firewall, and I did have to bring in the fellow out there too. So we paid for everything.
Okay.
For those nights and for those days. So we'll make sure, 4 years from now, we're gonna have to figure out.
Thanks. Councilor Bailey.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I want to say thank you to the chamber for hosting those events. As a newly elected councillor, it became quickly apparent that if the chamber wasn't hosting those events, I don't think we would have had a forum, because unfortunately no other group kind of stepped up and organized it. So I want to thank you for doing that public service. And just one other question about the visitor stats. I see it goes back to 2021, but did you do any comparison on some of the numbers maybe before the pandemic, or is that?
Well, we do these reports all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're easy to extract them to look at it, but for my purposes,
Sure, no.
we were just looking at what the progression was from year to year.
Yeah.
If I told you what 2020 was, it was hellish depressing.
Right, okay.
So things that,
Yeah,
that's just a moot point.
yeah,
That and the fires, I mean, if the year before, it was just one thing after another. So we just went back to just to see, we were trying to put a positive spin on.
I was just wondering if it's on trend to come back to that level or what, but yeah. Thanks very much.
think so.
Yeah.
And as we offer more activities and events here, we're certainly, with tourism being more into the forefront as well with marketing, I think you'll see that just grow.
I want to thank you for the working with the museum. We don't realize how important that is, because without the help of the chamber, those folks are starting to step back. So having a museum here is really important and important to our history. So that was a great relationship, and thank you so much for stepping up to do that. And thank you for all the great things you do. Like, you don't even mention in here how you advocate for all the businesses in town, how, you know, Zebra and Quagga Mussels, and we have an issue. There's strength in the Chamber of Commerce. Sheila will rally all of the chambers to send out a message to them, and they rally their communities. So it's really important that we understand exactly how important the Chamber of Commerce is on speaking on our behalf and protecting some of the caribou recovery. We could have a space, you know, mountain closed right now, but because all of us got together and started fighting to keep the area open and put some signage up and just better solutions, those things come to fruition. So thank you very much for that. I think Councillor McCabe has.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the chamber for the help and different hat Eagle Valley Transportation. We sort of utilize your staff there a little bit for drop off, pickup, and that goes a long way with helping seniors get to medical appointments and the service we provide. So thank you for your help on that.
Our pleasure to do that. We'd like to make sure that any of those public services are available. Very easy drop off and pick up spot as well. So, and it's great because that way they get to talk to them. That's always good
For traffic.
our business as well. Yeah, and then days like today, we go, oh, that's one person. It's something that this time of year. With regard to the advocacy, that is something that is definitely ramping up for our chambers. It's been a little bit snoozy to say the last couple of years because it's been very difficult. It's really hard to be part of a bigger team through Zoom, especially when advocacy and policy decision making on a provincial level is very passionate and people need to heard. It's just not the same when people are not standing at a podium and, you know, pounding their fists a little bit to get everybody on side. But in the coming year, I will be once again attending these actual live. Will be in person with the chamber for policy decisions. So we'll be happy to be back at that again.
Excellent. Awesome. Any more questions, comments? Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, we're going to go to the District and Southwest Development Corporation Annual Update, Tourism Economic Development Manager, Carly. You have the floor.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to take you guys through the year that we had for economic development and tourism. I will start with the DevCorp. So January 1st, we moved into our new space up above the medical facility at 217 Finlayson. So for any councilors that have not been up there yet, I invite you to pop in and check out the space. It's a wonderful location. We were able to, as Sheila mentioned, work with other groups to host different types of sessions in our space. So it's been great. It's a big, bright space that it's really enjoyable to work out of. We did an open house in July. So that was with the previous board. We did a meet and greet. So we had the public come out. We had some mayor councilors come in and get a chance to actually talk to them. So we'll be replicating that again as we have a new board starting in January. So we'll put that date out again. It'll be an open house for everyone to attend. We did have, as I mentioned, new directors appointed at our annual AGM. So 5 out of these 7 are brand new, and we will be establishing a meeting cadence and posting that coming up soon. So we'll be starting all of that in the new year. Tourism Advisory Committee. So the current terms ended. The Tourism Advisory Committee is a product of the MRDT. They drive some strategic direction and give feedback and ideas on how we spend our MRDT funds. So the current terms ended November 30th, and the Development Corporation Board are the ones that appoint the new board members. So the expression of interests are due at end of day today. They will be presented to the Development Corporation Board, and they'll appoint new Tourism Advisory Committees split between 1- and 2-year terms. Some conferences I was able to attend this year now that things are back in person. While I did do the virtual BC Economic Development Association Summit, they were still earlier in the year. There's only the virtual option. The EDAC annual, Economic Development Association of Canada annual professional development course. I did that virtually as well as that's an East Coast conference. And then I attended the Southern Ontario Regional Economic Summit with San Marm Economic Development, and that was in Kelowna. It was an excellent opportunity to network and see what in our region, which is considered the Thompson Okanagan, what other economic development groups were doing. They had some great delegation, a lot of information and sessions on reconciliation and how, to establish better working relationships with our local Indigenous economic development corporations. So it was a great 2 days of being able to finally meet a lot of the faces that, as I'm 2 years now into my role, that I've only ever seen through a computer screen over Zoom or on the phone. So some of the projects and initiatives from 2022, just a quick snapshot on the economic development budget. So we're sitting right now with our revenue balance of about 46,000. We have some invoices going through. So at the end of the year, we should have about 6,000 invoices being processed. The biggest project we did was our strategic development plan. And I do need to get that, the link out to the digital link out to new councillors. My apologies. I had sent it to when it was completed to old mayor and council. So I will get that link so that you guys can review it. And what that was it was partially funded by an NCDC grant that I was awarded, and it involved hiring NPV Insight, who eventually was bought out partway through the project by Deloitte. And they were able to, they acted as our contracted consultant to complete this project. It did extend quite longer than the initial 6-month plan, just given that we had wildfires and floods and the pandemic. So it was I wanted to make sure that the product that they delivered was of the, the highest quality and not necessarily pigeonholed by a date. So we did extend it, but I'm very happy with the completed project. What that will do is it's going to allow our new development corporation board members provide them with a strategic framework of where we want to go. So they've given us a lot of really good information. The process involved a ton of community engagement, both with residents, direct to business conversations. They chatted to DOS mayor and council and DOS staff to understand what the local economic landscape looked like. They did a lot of very similar community comparisons because they were a nationwide company. They were able to draw on a lot of similar and like communities that really had the very similar industry to us. So as I mentioned, it was completed in May. I will ensure that you guys have it, but it's a great 100-page document that I'm going to disseminate a lot of the key information and break it down so that we can really look at the 4 pillars that they established as an important step forward and drive our direction for the DevCorps in the upcoming years. Another big project that we worked on was the labor workforce group. So this started as just an idea in 2021 towards the end when we were really hearing the challenges of our local businesses right throughout the shoe shop and even farther within BC EDA, the BC Economic Development community, is how hard it is to get staff, and especially with the pandemic and all of the government money coming out, there wasn't a lot of people to draw on for working. So we created a local Shuswap labor workforce group with the San Juan Economic Development, Shuswap Economic Development, Work BC, Okanagan College, Community Futures, and select industry stakeholders. And it originally just started as some conversations, and as we grew, we started to bring in more industry stakeholders. The main goal of it is really to tackle our workforce challenges and find out all of what is contributing to that. And we started by creating a simple resource guide to help employers that we found a lot of employers were becoming owner operators and didn't have the time to necessarily source out a lot of this information or find really strategic ways in terms of how to attract and retain employers. So we created a resource guide that it will be available on our website, but it is sent out in a hard copy and a digital copy to all of our employers. We're investing into vicinity labor data for 2023. So at my next update to Mayor and Council, I'll be able to present job and workforce data. It is all industry specific around NAICS and NOx codes. It will look at the greater Shuswap region, but it'll also pinpoint some of our key industry within Sicamous. And then the Workforce Hub is really what's come out of this. It's a creation of a new support website. So again, a lot of owner-operator businesses, the challenge that they were facing is they don't have an HR department. They don't have someone to go through. Indeed, if anybody has posted a job on Indeed, you know that you're getting resumes from all around the world. And sometimes they are bot driven, where you can set as a job seeker, you can just say any keyword, send my resume. And so you have owner operators that are having to filter through a bunch of garbage resumes. So what this is going to do is these resumes will now be vetted. So this is going to be like an Indeed, but very specific to regions. Merit is the pilot community. They have theirs going up and running now. We're looking at some feedback from them, but we're hoping to launch our Shuswap one in 2023. So again, those partners that I talked about, DevCore, SAID, SEDS, WorkBC, we are all part of it. WorkBC has graciously given their in-kind experience to running the webpage, and we will be responsible for the marketing promotion in our own communities, but you can look to see this launch Q1 of 2023.
Carly, can you clarify for everybody what SAIDs and SAID?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What those are?
Again, acronyms, we use a lot of this. So SAIDs is Salmon Arm Economic Development Society. SEDS is Shuswap Economic Development Society, so they're brand new. And then I think WorkBC, the rest, you know. Sorry about that, thank you. So here I've included an attachment for your review. This is just a summary up to December 31st, but again, it was printed much before this presentation. So early next year, I'll be able to come back with a finalized 2022 budget. Steve actually went over a bunch of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, so I'll just quickly gloss through it. So we did partner with the chamber again, the DevCore with our new office space. We were able to host the sessions that we had, short of the not enough people in the emergency preparedness workshop, but we are going to re-offer a lot of these given the feedback that we had about how popular they were. So we were the main sponsor of Biz After Biz. We also sponsored an evening at Music in the Park. Another project that we did through a grant funding that we had was the Renewing the Shoe Staycation program. So this was our first kick at the can of trying to entice staycation, just given that we weren't seeing a lot of traveling, especially with the highway being closed at Golden. It was a 1-month pilot initiative to see how it was. We invested in some content, a website that we self-funded through, that we created ourselves through partnering with Salmon Arm Economic Development Society. It was not successful in Sicamous per se. We noticed that a lot of people book way in advance, and staycation in terms of Salmon Arm and Sicamous and Revelstoke, it didn't really resonate. So again, we wanted to try it. It was all grant funded, so we were comfortable with the small $1,000 investment to get it going. And it is something to build upon. So we have the framework of the program, and we would like to continue to push vacation as an initiative to, sorry, I should have mentioned, this was to encourage stays in the shoulder season. We're lucky in Sicamous where a lot of our hoteliers, once sled season really starts, are booked up. So that was also one of the reasons that I don't think in terms of staycation, people were moving from their house to go stay at one of our hotels. And then our BRE program, so Business Retention and Expansion Program, we did 45 online and in-person surveys that were completed. We aggregated the data and put some triage plans in place for 2023. So that also will align with the information that we got from the strategic development or the strategic plan. The rural and northern immigration pilot. So Northern Community Futures North Okanagan piloted this program. And we saw the need again as part of our discoveries with our labor workforce. So as a Shuswap Economic Development Consortium, along with Community Future Shuswap, we've decided to invest in supporting the rural northern immigration pilot. I can send anybody extra information if there's an appetite. They are also more than happy to come out and present. So this program launched September 2022 for Shuswap as part of the expanded North Okanagan program. We hosted Jenny Kusi, who is the new RNEP coordinator in Sicamous in later October. I've sent all the information to our major employers, and we actually have 3 local employers that have connected and asked for applications to be part of this program. And in the Shuswap region, just in September, we already have 20+ businesses active in the program, looking at bringing in immigrant workers for the skilled labor force.
Carly, can I just add, on this program, all these folks are vetted, and there's a lot of
Correct. Yes, they
explain that a little.
Yeah, of course. So the application comes in, and it's Jenny Kusi, who is the coordinator that actually goes through and they vet, and each family has to come in, and it's all done through industry codes, industry NAICS and NOx codes. So they come in and they look and they see what part of the program, and if they can satisfy the need for that particular skill, they do need to come in with a specific amount of capital to come in. There is an intention to stay within the community and reside, because there is the element of fast tracking citizenship through this program. So because of that element within the program, the vetting process is very, very intense because obviously they don't want to bring in unskilled labor that's going to land, get citizenship and just be gone. The whole point and why this program took so long to pilot in the area is to ensure that when a community comes and accepts a business within the community wants to bring on these people, that they're going to ensure that they, for all the work that the business has done, that they're going to have someone that's going to stay. So, priority is definitely given to family units that are coming in, because once you integrate, the spouse or the partner and children into the community, the chances are that they will stick. So they are looking again, and it is a skilled labor program, not an unskilled labor program. So you are looking at people that are, will be a serious contributor to any of the local businesses. Again, if you guys would like, I can definitely send more information in terms of links to the program that's more specific.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. Connectivity. So I'm sure that I've heard about this over the last couple of updates that I've done. Connectivity is something that is a high priority. It has taken us, a good solid year and a half to wade through a bunch of different options. We know that connectivity is a challenge in Sycamore, especially as we get our seasonal tourists and residents that come in. We have a director who is returning, Director Fair, and he will continue to work on this initiative. We have explored a ton of research and study options through iValley and TANX, looking at researching grants to support finding out the true connectivity challenges in Sycamore, because right now, as it stands on our federal community or connectivity service map, Sycamore is ineligible. However, we do know that there are a lot of issues throughout the community, but until we understand the scope of which we would need to invest into studies independently, we can't. I know everybody has seen all the connectivity grants that have been released both provincially and federally. Unfortunately, right now we are not eligible until we invest in our own study, and that can be super pricey, only to find out that some of the connectivity issues are based on the hard line into individual homes. So it's basically kind of, pinching off a nice big connectivity fiber cable into a small coax cable. So you can see where we get that poor service. So again, it is a priority for us. It will be brought up at our first meeting, and we'll continue to explore options and update council as we move forward. Website and social media. So for the DevCore specifically, we had a soft launch of the DevCore website in early November. Currently working out some bugs and updating some content that we have discovered has been not put into the system properly. We're going to do a public launch, marketing and promotion of the website January 2nd. Investment opportunities for data portal. So I've looked at a bunch of other economic development sites, and we found some really cool data portals that will aggregate a ton of information and put it in one nice, easy to go through spot module essentially on the website. I started a DevCore Instagram profile, so it's a slow burn. It's got 281 followers, but we haven't put a lot of promotion or marketing behind it. So I'm going to be looking at contracting out a local agency to help with social media, because to do it properly, it does take quite a bit of time, and running 2 accounts, I think that that's probably going to help establish growth for both the Instagram profile and the Facebook profile. And then we're going to do an email marketing program launch January 2nd. Now we move on to tourism. So again, budget year to date, currently we are in the red. The thing to know about MRDT is our deposits are always 3 months behind. So to walk you through this, we have unexpected expenses going through about 12 grand. However, based on previous years, I expect that we will end the year with a $15,000 carryover into 2023. So when we look at a really exciting number, the deposits up to September 30th were just over 91,000. MRDT online accommodator is the OAP. That was about just over 16,000. And then we have a total of 107,360 year to date. So really exciting. September of this year was our highest month ever, with just over $19,000 in a single month. Again, we don't have any control over how and when things are remitted. So our months we never really can project what's going to happen. But if you look at September 2021 to September 2022, we've had a 54% increase in MRDT funding year to date. So that shows that our visitors are coming back. Again, this is hotel and short-term rentals. So we are having, we are seeing that increase in people from January to September so far. The 2023 plan is complete and was submitted on November 30th. So right now I'm just waiting for the feedback from Destination BC. Once that's done, the report will go public. Our projection for MRDT revenue is $188,500, which includes the $15,000 carryover and fee for service provided by the DOS to execute tourism services. So again, you've all seen the budget. We can go right into the visitor guide, which I did place in front of everybody. If you haven't seen it, this was by far our largest expenditure this year, and it was definitely needed. For our first go at a guide, we are really happy. As Sheila mentioned, we start with a 750 copy run, not knowing what, people were still pulling the paper copies out or print copies out, and we ran out in 2 weeks. And that was solely given to the visitor center and our hotels. Those were the only people that got the first 750. They immediately called. We had a rush run of another reprint of 1,500 copies. I believe there's 25 copies in existence right now. We definitely will need to, we're not going to reprint for the winter because we're investing our money into a refresh. So we've gotten a bunch of the accommodator feedback, and I'll be going around in January again once they hit sort of a bit of a slower season, get more feedback on what they want to see, do some tourism advisory committee engagement to go through it and figure out where we want to update. But we have the bones of the project, so all we'll need to invest in is some new content, new photos placed in there. We did invest in issue, and we had 412 digital downloads off of the exploresicamous.ca website through our QR code marketing. So we did, like I said, great feedback from the accommodators. They loved their listings. They didn't have to pay for it because clearly they're collecting MRDT, which allowed us to create this guide. One of the feedback items that they did see was they would like a standalone restaurant and shopping guide. They found that was something that they were getting the most requests for. So that'll be a project that we're going to do right in January and get that out into market, and then we'll do a refresh once some of our summer retailers and restaurants reopen. The map I also placed in front of you. So that map was the project that we had for 2021. We still had enough copies that we just repurposed it. And we are looking at options to update it and change how we're doing mapping based on what Shuswap Trail Alliance is doing, what Shuswap Tourism is doing, and seeing if we can potentially put that mapping inside of our guide instead of having a standalone item. Sickmoose Geo Tour. So this is a new project completely for the area. If anyone geocaches, I'm sure you know that there are individual caches all around here, but there is a geo tour around Sickmoose. So if you haven't done it, I encourage everybody to do it. It's a wonderful activity. We had 15 caches on the tour, and they are spread out around town. I also included 7 travel bugs, which were dog tags, and anybody that geocaches understands that a travel bug has a QR code on it, and it has a specific mission. So some of them were, if you are going to take me, I need to move within 500 kilometers of my, origin location. So last night I checked, I've got travel bugs in Morocco, Queensland, Australia, down on the island, Prince Edward Island, North Dakota, Idaho, and the 7th one I still don't know where it is. So no one's actually logged it, but as a geocacher takes it and moves it to a new cache location, they put it in the box, they log it, and then it just continues to travel around. So it's an interesting way to see the impact of where a little Sickmoose geotag can go and travel around. Today, we have 1,723 found logs. That means 1,700 people have looked at and opened up a cache and put it in. We've got 86 favorite points, which from feedback from geocaching.com is a really great number to notice, because it's seasoned geocachers are going in and favoriting it, and that's how people determine where they're going to go next. So it's almost like a mini marketing campaign for Sickmoose. We have had 200 passports completed and 200 coins that have been shipped out. So that top logo there, the Sickmoose Geo Tour, that was made into a really beautiful silver coin. And as you completed the passport, the first 200 people got it shipped out. We did an intro to geocaching event at the Family Day festivities on July 30th. We had 40 people inquire and grab passports. Had a community event on September 17th and had 57 participants come from as far away on a single day event as I believe it was Williams Lake. There was a group before that came down, but we've had people come from all over Canada, and actually I can show you some stats on the next slide that shows the people that have come internationally. We did a DOS staff team builder and got them geocaching as well as a second legal activity. So this next page, it's small, but those red dots show you where people from that have geocached have actually come to Sicamous and where their accounts originated at. So 6 different distinct visitor countries have taken part in the geocache. And then I have pages upon pages of feedback that if anyone's interested, it just really showed me that this was a very successful activation. Some of the return on investment that we're going to continue to work with and expand as we move into 2023 are looking at our total visitor days. So the goal is to always have someone come and stay more than one night, want to come and do the tour and book a hotel room. And what we've noticed is by increasing our geocache inventory from 15 as we had to another 15 to 20 launched in May of 2023, that will encourage people that have done the geo tour to come back into our community, and now they're more familiar. A lot of feedback we had was we didn't realize that this was here, we didn't realize that there were so many restaurants and cool retail shops. So that would be an automatic draw for those people, but then it also encourages people that are new to the entire tour to spend that 1 or 2 days. So the average days per account in Sicamous was 1.4. So we did see, we're going to build a program so we can see where the actual hotel stays are so that we have a more granular look, at what those hotel stays and what the return on this particular project's investment was. I've outlined a couple events that we supported through our event support fund. So we did the fishing derby, a small investment, but we provided some in-kind marketing support and other promo items. We played a big role in the Fungi Festival this year. So we actually sponsored the keynote presenter on medicinal mushrooms, which was a very well attended session that was over at the Legion. We supported with social media marketing promotions, ran social media contests for passes that we had. We had 32 people enter for passes. And I'm working with Deb closely to grow this event because I do also feel that this should be an anchor event in Sicamous. It should be something that draws people from a lot farther than just Revelstoke and Salmon Arm. We need to be really looking at that now that the borders are open, getting the people that are really interested in mushrooms coming from up in the US. Uninterrupted VR, so I'm not sure if anybody had a chance to take that. We got a grant to do this program. We partnered with Shuswap Tourism, North Okanagan Chamber of Commerce, and Salmon Arm Economic Development. It was a virtual reality experience where you went on the path or saw the journey of the salmon. So it tied in with the salmon run that was on its 4-year event out in the North Shuswap. There were 3 shows across Shuswap, one at Quail Lodge, one at Song Sparrow Hall in Salmon Arm, and then at the Red Barn over 2 days. We had 200 tickets that were free tickets. They actually all sold out, but we had 168 people show up. So for Sicamous on a Halloween weekend, we were really happy with that attendance. The Sled Festival, which Sheila had talked about, we did partner with them. There were 3 films showcased. A lot of sled companies have not done any filming in the past couple of years, so we've established those relationships with them now for the bigger sled festivals. My goal and Sled Sicamous' goal is to really get this to where Revelstoke is, where you have people coming in for the weekend to stay and make it an early pass driver for them, etc. So this is definitely something we're going to look at growing. They estimated about 300 people throughout the night on site, which is huge. When I was there, it was very, very well attended. They had 8 vendors on site. So again, just the plan is to continue to support and grow that. Website. So the website launched late 2021, early 2022. So updates are ongoing to modernize the site and refresh appearance. We've got some average monthly stats, about 820 visits with 2,100 page views every month. Off season, it really drops. So this shows us an opportunity to grow our off season engagement through quality content development. Drive through, maybe put more of our sponsored posts, driving them to our website organically. Throughout the shoulder season. Social media, we've had growth in both Instagram and Facebook. Again, everybody knows video is a lot more engaging, so we've seen a ton of more conversion rate and supporting the content development, switching from less photo, more video for 2023. I did some successful contest that had, oh, I didn't put in the numbers here, but we had 118 people enter into our social media contests. And again, takeovers, more content development and more consistent posts through hiring a local agency to help with social media management. If anybody's grabbed a Backroads map book, you know that they are a very popular publication for anybody that goes into the outdoors or is traveling through FSRs, et cetera. We invested in a 2-page community profile in this nationally distributed book, and they loved our photo from the lookout so much that we actually took the cover. So this will stay on the shelves. It's a 3-year turnaround. We'll revisit it in 2 years and create and update our content, update our photos, but obviously that photo is so iconic that there was no question that they were going to use it. Advertising. So as you can see, so the photos here with the border around it are what we invested in for Kelowna Airport digital advertising. So when you arrive at Kelowna Airport, on the digital screens, we've got 2 digital screens and we run 4 different photos every month. So the feedback has been great. We've heard a lot of people that have said, hey, we've seen that photo, we saw Explore Sicamous. So we're starting to really establish that brand identity for Explore Sicamous through these really beautiful images that are, you know, there's nothing more. What do you do when you stand and wait for luggage? You watch what's happening on the digital screen. So we'll continue in 2023 on that one. We took over a billboard on the Trans-Canada Highway. So this is again more of the photos that we had. We were in the Shoe Shop Experience Guide, Sicamous Eagles program, Sled Sicamous trade shows, and cabin branding. And then we, of course, got the brand out through social media sponsored promoted posts. And again, the goal is to obviously get organic coverage, Western Investor, Right Size Magazine, BC Business Magazine, Sun Cruiser, BC Camping. We've had some really positive articles about Sicamous in all of those publications without having to spend time. So what you see with the Eat Sleep Sled is a direction that we're testing. And as of from June 20th to October 9th, they saw 415,744 cars is what Pattison has reported back to us that could have potentially seen our new branding. So we kept it simple, kept it clean. We're looking at another location where we'll use the brighter Sicamous blue branding colors and Eat Sleep Shop, Eat Sleep Beach. So really making it simple and driving people. The goal is to get people to come into town off of the highway. It's all pretty.
Awesome. Wow, council, do you have any questions? Councillor Evans, go ahead.
This is amazing looking stuff. So good job on that. And you covered a lot of ground and we can still understand what you're saying while you talk that fast.
Wow.
For that reason,
I was gonna ask you, have you guys thought about taking this amazing stuff and putting it into an app for Sicamous?
So you asked that. We actually did explore some app creation. It's a bit out of our budget. So you know what, that definitely would be something within that 5-year plan to grow. Once we can grow our MRDT a little bit and put these foundational projects in. So we've invested quite a bit in the guide, so we won't have to invest it. I think year over year, we'll have more of that money to put into that, but I like that. That is exactly where we want to go.
Because something like the where to eat, well, there you go. And it's just this beautiful imagery in that, but yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, no, very comprehensive report there.
I like to let you guys know what we're up to.
Awesome. Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, yeah, good work, Carly. Looking forward to working with the new EDC board and your group, and yeah, it's looking really well. And the Tourism Advisory Council too. Thank you.
Awesome. I do have one question on the guide, the restaurant guide.
Yes.
So you had mentioned you're going to create a separate dining guide, and what else was in there? Sorry.
So just sort of, you know, the basics of where people can go to get really any type of shopping to get people out of their hotel rooms.
My only concern with the dining guide is to make sure that you have a commitment from the restaurants that they will be open and that they will be open to a certain time. So
Yes.
Sometimes we run into in the early spring there where no one's around, so we shut the door, where We should, I mean, even if it's tough, and Ian's like. Oh, sure.
It's not that we want to shut the door, like, oops, no staff.
But, and I know it's difficult for restaurateurs, but it is, we train people not to show up when we, close the doors or,
Yeah. Well, and what I did to combat that, because I know exactly what you're saying, is I've invested in a new module inside the Explore Sycamore, so you click through the where to eat. I will take on the production through Canva, and so that it's something that I can do seasonally. And again, like you said, it will be something where the restaurants need to, if they want to be featured on it, going into all the hotel rooms, they need to be consistent with their hours, and then I would change it knowing where our season sort of shifts and when patios open and takeout options. So really making sure that we have those details down. But yeah, well,
absolutely.
It's a key part to this particular guide.
Thank you, Carly. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just an idea. I really love this and I love how my ads look too. But, is there maybe instead of doing two, you do one and you put there like an ad or a book within a book or something? Because I mean, this is really impactful. Like if you see that, you're going to want to look through that. I think this is extremely well done. So, yeah.
Like almost like a tarot, okay?
Almost something like
Yeah.
that, because we don't have a lot of eating establishments. We have, a few, and there's a few shops around town, but it's certainly not like a Kelowna size or anything like that. But certainly if we can keep things as impactful as this, I think this goes a long way to making people pick it up and look through it as well. So anyways, excellent job on this.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Carly. Anyone else?
She needs these.
Thanks, Carly. Good job. Great job.
You want these back? You only have 25.
Yeah, you should.
Your number, I encourage you to give them back and I'll put them back into the visitor center.
Just like them, Sarah.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Those are scarce as well. Okay, so we're gonna have, moving forward, we're having mayor and council reports, and who wants to go after that? Councillor Bailey.
Well, as I said on the last meeting, I was on vacation, so here I am for my first in-person council meeting, and I've just been diving into all things planning and development mostly. Attended my first planning and development committee meeting and already had a few emails from developers and people looking to do business in Sycamus. So yeah, anyways.
Good to hear. Thanks. Councillor Beach.
Yes, well, I guess since our last meeting, I was helping out with the Sycamus Christmas Day, Light Up Day, and painting faces for children and families. So that was interesting. And also I attended as an ex officio member, the first planning and development
Oh, yes.
meeting. So that was totally exciting. It was an overview of the potential of everything. And so that was very exciting to be there for that. And then just today, I and Karen Eastland sat in we sit in on an implementation committee for the Rural Health Network. So that implementation refers to health services in rural communities. So it's always very, very interesting to see what's happening across the province. And Karen feels, I think, a little bit overwhelmed because these people have been at it for so long. I just find it very validating that we're looking at stuff that they're talking about. So the issues are very similar. Transportation was the first position paper that they're putting forward. And now we're looking at the issue of privileging professionals to work, limiting where they can work when rural communities have no professionals. So these are the things that they're tackling. We're all tackling. We're coming from all over BC. So it's really interesting stuff and high-powered people. I think we're their position papers will make an impact. They're actually being listened to. So good stuff. That's what I've done.
Councillor Bushel. You thought I was gonna go that direction. Changed it up.
To the chair, yeah, we asked to attend the Moose Milk meeting, the second one. I missed the first one. I was out of town. So it was interesting to see what they're looking to do, and yeah, there's more to come there. I think hopefully they'll come and do a presentation, but Siobhan came, was at, I think, been at both meetings. We had the Christmas parade. I want to thank staff and like Jamie and her crew and Daryl and all his crew they did a great job getting the Christmas parade going through town, and it was really well attended, and it was really nice. Attended our first planning meeting. Scott and his team got our feet wet a little bit on the planning, so there was lots of going through on the zoning bylaw 1000. Also attended a CSRD board member, like I'm an alternate for Colleen, so went for a day training or half day training there. That was pretty good. Attended the DOS Christmas party. That was really really well attended by all staff and council. It was really nice. And then the last one was, we had a training here on Monday. We went through they bring us all in and retrain us or train our new counselors for another 4 years. So that was really put on a good show with Ron Matissis from Kelowna, I think his name is. And it was a good session. So that's about it.
So Councillor Evans.
You really are mixing it up, Miss Mayor. Yeah, I had a couple meetings in helping with the transition to the new proponents for daycare and working on finding that new people to manage that. And I did the training all day Monday with the team here, and it's good to do because you get a lot of good refresher on ins and outs of doing this job. And I was happy to be part of the Christmas parade, and our Main Street, I already said this, but it looks fantastic this year when you look down Main Street. So good job. And yeah, it's lots of discussions about bylaw 1000 with a lot of people, and it's kept us hopping.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor McKay.
Thank you. Kind of the same. I went, the parade was great. Lots of entries, really impressive for a small town. So kudos to Jamie and Daryl and staff and all the participants in the parade. Bob provided some entertainment, and it was great. Bonfire. Ministry of Transportation, all the council had a meeting this morning for an update on Bruin Bridge. It's moving along. Also attended the council workshop on Monday. It was one interesting fact, I guess on a provincial basis, based on the amount of hours a councillor puts in, you get paid 87 cents an hour for being a councillor. Christmas party, again, thank you for staff for arranging it and doing all the decorations and providing some fun games. We have some karaoke rock stars in our midst. And yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Malcolm. Councillor Rich.
Thank you. Oh, I have touched base with our new school trustee, Brent Jennings, who's new to our area. So Sarah and I have talked a little bit about that. I've been attending the Moose Mouse meetings, so they're looking into revitalizing Moose Mouse. Jake DeWitt's heading that, and that would be the third weekend in July. Got to go to the DOS Christmas party, which was lots of fun, and the food was great. Council orientation, which was a huge amount of information, but it was excellent. And then Councillor McCabe and I have been talking a bit about the housing committee. We're not meeting again to January, but looking at what some of the other communities are doing and how maybe we can not reinvent the wheel as we move forward with our housing plans.
Excellent, thank you. I've had a busy couple of weeks. I'm in training, so to speak. On the last week, we went to the staff training. The week before, I went to CSRD training. The first CSRD meeting was on the 9th, and a couple things, hot topics there. Committee appointments for the newly elected folks, and there's going to be a solid waste plan review coming down, which is super exciting, and Daryl will keep us in the loop on that, I'm sure. Letter of support for TELUS and Rogers. They are looking at connectivity and cell service in the area. So the CSRD has issued or written letters of support, and I think we have on our agenda coming up an invitation out to tell us as well to have a look at our area where we're having dropping some calls and some holes. Council training, again, that was what we all attended this past week, and thank you, Kelly. And it's good to go over roles and responsibility and who's responsible for what and minding our P's and Q's. On the 13th, I was at a Shuswap emergency plan meeting, which is for the entire area, but mostly interested in Sycamoose and our Shuswap or our emergency planning program. So I'm setting up a meeting with Derek just to go over all of the things that we need to know and make sure that they're communicated to staff, community, council, so we all know how everything would roll out in case of an emergency. The parade, again, I'm just going to echo what everyone said, was simply amazing. I don't think I've seen that many people at the parade, and I haven't seen that many participants. And not only were they, a lot of participants, man, they went all out. Like there's some pretty serious parade floats in that. It was like, wow, so hats off to them and thank them very much. So the holiday train is coming in tomorrow at 5:10, and it also a food bank drive, and I think staff has that on their radar. That's all organized. It's over at the Houseboat Kiosk next to the tracks. 5:10, correct, Sarah?
Rolling in around 5:15.
Rolling in around 5:15. So again, it's a food bank drive. So please give generously to those families that need our support this season. Also, on that note, please remember if you do have time to touch base with or want to touch base with Bob or Tamara, and we do have a Ukrainian family in town. Mother and a 14-year-old boy that probably would love some support this season as well. So having said all of that, we are going to, what are we going to do? We are going to the Committee of the Whole now rise and report. I need a mover. Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Thank you, Councillor Beach. All in favor? Thank you. We are going to take a meeting recess and re-adjourn at 5 o'clock. So I need a recommendation that the December 14th, 2022 regular council meeting be recessed, the time being 4:25, and the meeting reconvene at 5 p.m. Could I get a mover? Second. Thanks, Siobhan. All in favor? Carrie, we'll see everyone at 5 o'clock for being here. We're going to start with going over some bylaws and policies. The December 14th, 2022 council meeting is now reconvened. First, council will rescind the third reading of zoning bylaw 1000/2022 to be able to consider second reading as amended and open a new public hearing. I will read the recommendation. Rescind third reading zoning bylaw 1000/2022. Recommendation that council rescind resolution number 22-323 from the September 28th, 2022 regular council meeting, that District of Sycamoose zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 be given third reading this 28th day of September 2022, and that the District of Sycamoose zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 be referred to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to request statutory approval. Do I have a mover? Board, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bailey, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Second reading as amended, zoning bylaw 1000/2022, and I'm going to turn this over to Scott.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. So the application or the proposal is for the zoning bylaw number 1000/2022. So at the previous council meeting on the 28th, the bylaw was given third reading. So between that time, council has received new information and we've received some new information as well. So in order to move forward, we have to move backwards and rescind third reading. And then council has the opportunity to give the bylaw second reading as amended. So maybe I'll just talk a little bit about the bylaw process to date and then the amendments that are proposed. So here's the, we'll call it the anatomy of a bylaw, the map on the right, and then the elements of the zoning bylaw on the left. So typically there's definitions, the general regulations, the zones, the zone or site-specific regulations, floodplain regulations, parking regulations, and the map. And you can see the map on the right. I think most of council now is pretty familiar with all the elements of the bylaw and the map. And then here's just a list of the different zones. So I think there's 23 zones. So we're actually going down, reducing the number of zones, consolidating some, the site-specific comprehensive development zones, and trying to come up with zones that work, for many different properties. And then with the added definitions, the bylaw should be a little bit more straightforward and easier to work with. So on August 11th, 2021, the bylaw is usually given first reading, and then we sent it out for referrals and start our engagement process. And then on May 11th, 2022, there was the second reading as amended, and we continued the engagement process. And that brought us to September 28th, 2022. And then the public hearing was held. The bylaw was given second reading as amended and third reading. And so that brings us to today, which is December 14th. So again, that bylaw was given, third reading was rescinded. We're recommending second reading as amended, and then another public hearing, and then third reading. And at that time, we confer it to Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure for approval. So the amendments since the September 28th, 2022, third reading. So 202 Highway 97A, adding a special regulation there, limiting the partial coverage to 60%. 1033 McPherson, adding a special regulation to limit the new parcels created by subdivision. And 1101, 1125 Riverside from C3 to R1. So those three were just through discussions with Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure. They want to see those changes. So we agreed that so staff's recommending that those changes be made. Adding storage facility to the highway commercial zone, the C2 zone. So right now, I believe there's storage and warehouse. So this would add storage facility, which is, what you picture in mind as a mini storage little facility. So adding that into the highway commercial zone. 326 Mara Lake Lane, that's the legacy. We've received a lot of correspondence on that. So right now we're recommending that be amended from MUR1 to MUR2. And then adding two more site-specific regulations, one at 506, 508 Capel Street and one at 504 Highway 97A. So these are two properties. They have a duplex and a secondary suite. So essentially a fourplex, we'll call them. So just recognizing that use. So 506, 508, they did go through a rezoning process. And we just want to make sure that they're recognized, and that carries through this process. And 504 Highway 97A, that's the one that just as we were reviewing it, we realized that that one also has has the two units with the secondary suite. So just recognizing that use as well. And then 1221 Eagle Passway from C1 to C2. That's on the other side of Highway 97 between the Shell and the Chinese restaurant. So those two are zoned C2. And so just keeping consistency on that side of the highway of assigning that the C2 zone as well. And then as the engagement, we referred it out to the referral agencies. We have a whole list of responses. We also held a number of public meetings throughout the last 2 summers. We had kind of some general zoning meetings. We had some stakeholder meetings, met with different stratas and councils. We also had a specific one on short-term rentals, and then also through the downtown revitalization, the Parks and Trails plans, and our housing committee, all the different meetings we've had. We've always had some information available in the zoning bylaw. So we're probably looking at 6 to 8 opportunities for people to come here. And then we also went out in the community. We had information set up at different events as well. So I think we've worked pretty hard to make sure that we've heard from everybody in the community. And then, yeah, so at this time, we're recommending that bylaw be given second reading as amended with those amendments as proposed.
Thank you, Scott. I'll now read the recommendation. Recommendation that district zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 be given second reading as amended this 14th day of December 2022. Do I have mover? Thanks. Bob, seconder. Thanks, Malcolm. And council, are we up for discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, I know on property number 534, which is the Mountain Park property. It did have a process of going through the development permit process on the back property on the backside, and it did get approval for a service station and drive-through service. But on the building 534, there's not a lot of room for a vehicle service station. So I know it is site specific in the new zoning bylaw 1000. And I would like to see if I could make a motion to amend it, add in one more amendment and to remove the vehicle service station and drive-through on 534. And just the concern I have is just the vehicle traffic. And this way we'd be able to have a second look at this property before it goes to, I'm not sure when it's going to go for another development permit, but this property still has to be have a development permit. So I would like to make a motion to discuss it, or
Does anybody want to second that? Thanks, Pam. You want to discuss that?
I think it's more flexible if you leave it the way it is. Ministry of Transportation at the initial referral didn't seem to have an issue with traffic. They didn't even ask for a traffic impact study when that proposal was put through. They actually said it was fine. So I think it should be flexible enough to leave it that way, and then if the owner or future owners want to develop it, it's up to them to make sure the traffic can work, through a traffic impact study or traffic management or traffic impact study. I think we should leave the flexibility there and not restrict it through bureaucracy or government, and leave it to private enterprise to show that it can work.
Thanks, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Bailey.
I agree with Councillor Bushel. I think being prudent is a good course of action for us. It doesn't preclude that there isn't an opportunity to put those in, and but I think having council take a moment to get that information in and then proceed, and maybe it's gonna have to be another traffic study there. Certainly the traffic study that might have been part of it wasn't done during a peak season. So council might want to have that opportunity to come and look and say, hey, what does this look like in July and August? Maybe not just September or October. So I think that's being prudent, and I would definitely support the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Bailey. I tend to agree with the both of you. I think that it's making sure that that traffic circle used to be such a snarl. We used to have 8 arms, and we finally got it worked out to flowing. So I think before they should do their due diligence prior to. So I agree with you. Gordon?
yes, through the chair, I'd just like to add that, the traffic study that was done did show that, oncoming trucks do have to go into an outside, another lane to make that corner. And I just thought that a second opinion on the traffic study would be very prudent for the community, because if it does plug up the traffic circle, it plugs up the highway and it stops everything. So I just thought it would be a good double check, and it can still go ahead and it can still be zoned for that when they go through the development permit process.
Makes sense. Good catch, because it is right next to a school as well. So those big trucks coming in and out of there could, be a safety issue. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to call the question on the amendment.
I can read out the amendment from what I'm hearing from council, that bylaw number 1000/2022 be amended to remove the words vehicle service station and drive-through service under the site-specific regulations for 534 Main Street, outlined in section 4.4.1.10F.
Any more discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Bob? Bob, do you want to tell us why you're opposed?
Well, I thought we already agreed to the permit a year ago, but I understand where Council Bush is coming from. So it's about a traffic study, right? Is that what you're saying?
The permit was for the other piece of property. This property hasn't gone through the process yet.
Okay.
And I'm just saying that it should be prudent that another traffic study be done on it.
Gotcha.
Thanks. Councillor McCabe.
But I think I've already stated my reasons.
I think it's more flexibility to private enterprise to prove they can do it instead of us saying they can't without amending the zoning.
Okay, that's carried. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the original recommendation. And we have a first and a seconder on that. So can we vote all those in favor of the recommendation that District of Sigma's bylaw 1000/2022 be given second reading and amended this 14th day of December? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Where we go now, correct? Yeah. Okay, we're going to begin this public hearing now. The public hearing for the District of Sycamore zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 is now open at 5:15. At this public hearing, council will consider zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 to consider replacing its existing zoning bylaw. Zoning bylaw number 1000 will be introduced by staff, and staff will provide synopsis of the proposed zoning bylaw. Following the introduction, I will open the floor to presentations by the public. Scott, do you want to go ahead?
Again, thank you, Mayor Anderson. So at this public hearing, council will consider District of Sycamore zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 to replace District of Sycamore zoning bylaw number 101/1993. The public are invited to make presentations to council, and all persons who believe their interest in property is affected by the proposed zoning bylaw shall be given reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed zoning bylaw number 1000. Please direct all your comments through the chair. Members of the council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this hearing to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Please observe these rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chairperson. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views known. If you'd like to make a presentation, please raise your hand. If you're attending through Zoom to speak during the meeting, please click on the hand icon to raise your hand electronically, and you will be in the queue to speak. Your final opportunity to comment on the proposed District of Sycamore zoning bylaw number 1000/2022 will be during the hearing, as members of council are not permitted to receive further submissions after the close of the hearing. Again, please direct your comments to the chair by raising your hand electronically, raising your hand to speak. And then just a review of the zoning bylaw 1000, and that would be to replace the existing zoning bylaw 101/1993.
Thank you, Scott. So we're going to open the public hearing. We will give everyone 2 minutes to talk. Please keep it to, you can speak as many times as you'd like, but please don't come up and repeat the same story the second time. So we will open the public hearing. Want me to read all those right now? Okay, so to start this, is there anyone in attendance who has not submitted something in writing who would like to speak? No? Is there anyone online who has not submitted something in writing who would like to speak? No? Okay. Is there anyone in attendance who has new information that would like to speak? Is there anyone online who has new information that would like to speak? Okay, I'll wait for this till the end, but we can open that. Okay. We on? Yeah. All right. Floor is open. Well, that seems easy. Go ahead. Please just state your name, just for record.
My name is Greg Maxwell. I'm the current president of the Legacy Strata Council. I'm not going to debate anything. I just want to state some facts. The town asked us, as an ownership, to present or to have a vote or however, to bring our preference to the town. There's 170 pages on the webpage. There's lots of information for you to read. As a part-time resident, I live here for 5 months of the year. I bought in 2013, so I'm very familiar with it. But we were asked to have a vote. We had an SGM. It was fair. The building voted. All of you, I'm sure, are aware of the results. And to me, the democratic process is important, and I hope the council honors that democratic process. You asked us for our preference for zoning, we gave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Get you up to the mic there, please. And your name.
I'm Kevin Becker, one of the owners of the Legacy building. Just like to make a quick response to the democratic process that was just touched on. Just asking council to also consider the rules of the BC Strata Act, particularly the requirement for any bylaw resolution to be passed by 75% voting members for any resolution. Of course, includes the votes were at hand. So a number of us have a view that both of those resolutions were defeated, and ultimately the determination is either inconclusive or both that were defeated. If you look at the BC Strata Act, the minority has spoken and has defeated a resolution to pass MUR-1, which ultimately is, I think, the crux of the argument here about short-term rentals. I'm in favor of MUR-2, obviously, and I just wanted to restate the comments of my views that should be completely within the BC Strata Act and Strata Council and owners working together, as opposed to spilling out into a town council meeting and consuming a whole bunch of time and resources.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We had to have the vote in order to have proxy votes, which you were all aware of. The people that could not attend, you have to have a resolution. We were not trying to pass a bylaw. That is the way to get proxy votes, is to have, that's the Strata Act, it's the way it's written. So the town asked for preference, and that was the way that we could do it. If I had just called for just a vote, then it would be say that it's not legitimate. There would have been no SGM, there would be no the formal documentation that Mr. Beeching asked me to provide, which was the minutes of that. And that is why. The 75%, we were not trying to, if we wanted to change our zoning, which we don't want to do, then the 75% would mean something, but that's not what this is about. It's about what the people in the building, the owners voted.
Thank you. We have some hands up online.
Yes, that's Kevin Earn. I'm going to unmute.
Hi, good evening, Council. I'm Kevin Ernie. I'm a spokesperson for the concerned owners group at Legacy on Mara. I'm going to make this short and sweet and stick only to the current and relevant facts. On October 3rd, the district in writing via Kelly Bennett requested Legacy Strata Council to provide, and I quote, an official vote of preference between MUR1 and MUR2. The district would like to reconsider the zone prior to the end of the year, therefore is requesting that a response be provided to the district no later than November 25th, 22. On November 2nd, 2022, Legacy Strata, along with our professional strata manager, Pacific Quorum, held a special general meeting. The purpose of this meeting was to respect the wishes of the district and conduct an official vote regarding the ownership of Legacy's preference of zoning. Please keep in mind the only vehicle for Legacy Strata to comply with this request was to call an official SGM to ensure a fair and impartial vote on this topic could proceed. On approximately November 3rd, 2022, Legacy on Mera Council provided the district with written official results of that SGM vote, which was completed on November 2nd. And the results are as follows. 2/3 of Legacy ownership, 37 votes were in favor of maintaining our current MUR1 designation. And 1/3 of Legacy ownership, 19 votes were in favor of MUR2 zoning designation. Given these results and in line with the democratic process, Legacy Council explicitly supports the majority ownership preference of maintaining our current MUR1 zoning, which was highlighted in the 2 official letters sent to the district on November 3rd and again on December 13th. The concerned owners group from Legacy on Mera, which is made up of 37 owners, respectfully request that the district respect democracy and the official process followed by our strata and maintain our current zoning of MUR1 equivalent. I must emphasize that there is no logical motivation for the district to rezone our building, as it not only goes against the large 2/3 majority owner's preference, which was requested by the district, but it also contravenes the district's mandate to increase affordable housing by increasing the availability of long-term rentals. In essence, a decision of MUR1 is a win for the district council, the citizens of the district of Sicamous, as well as the great majority of the ownership at Legacy. I do have some questions for council if they're willing to accept my questions as well.
Well, we're not here to debate with council. We're actually here for the public hearing. So I would suggest, I would suggest you submit those.
Sure, that's fine.
Online. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Hey. Go ahead.
Thanks for having us tonight, and I'm really glad that I came here at 3 o'clock to see the presentations from around District of Sicamous, and that just confirms my belief that we should, keep the town open to fund various different things around, and how the MRDT especially is a huge revenue stream for some of these various activities. So I'm really glad that I came at 3 o'clock and not just waited till 5 o'clock. I am an owner in the Legacy. I just bought this year. I don't have any new story.
Sorry, could I get your name?
Oh,
sorry. I'm sorry.
Colin Underwood.
Hey, thank you, Colin.
Yeah, I just live in Salmon Arm. I'm a teacher in Salmon Arm, and I think this is really important for me to come over here. I do own in the Legacy. And I think it's just really important for council to know the parking issue that was manufactured by our last strata council. And now that I was here at 3 o'clock, I know that all things don't revolve around Legacy politics as some other owners perceive it to be. And there are other issues on the floor. But essentially, I keep hearing over and over about all the cars on Mara Lake Lane parked. And what had happened was that past strata council blocked P2, which is the lower parkade accessed on the north end of the building by the construction gate. So we have 2 parkades in the Legacy. And with that, anyone staying in our unit less than 12 months was not able to access that parkade unless they were on title. And so a group of us had to get a strata lawyer to actually have access to our parking stall, if you could believe it. So they wouldn't allow us to park in our own stalls, having guests and visitors there. That's what had happened. That's since been resolved, so we'll be now able to use Parkade 2, but we have 164 parking stalls in the Legacy. And if back of the envelope math is correct, at 65 units, that's 2.49 stalls per unit. So we definitely have adequate parking to be zoned MUR2, despite all the nefarious politics that continue to persist. So I want to put that out there to all the councillors that this issue has been resolved and we will be using our parking stalls as we should be on our strata plans. So thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I just want to, for the folks that are involved in the public hearing, if this is not a parking issue, I think we want to stick to the topic of the zoning. So, yeah, we'll just stick with the topic at hand. I think we understand that there is parking at the legacy. Do we have more people on?
Yes, Michael Shalfoon is online. I'll ask.
Okay.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
we can hear you.
Yeah, Michael Shalfoon. I've been at the Legacy since 2010, so quite a long time. You know, essentially I was full-time except when I go south for the winters, but what concerns me is that it seems like we're going, you know, I bought in with this being a home. And it has been a good home, but with the increase in these short-term rentals, which I consider more or less a commercial business that these guys are trying to run out of our building, and they're a minority. You know, we're going down the wrong route. A group of owners says this is our home. We bought this to be our home. We're not set up, obviously there's parking problems. We're not set up to be a commercial business, and the short-term rentals, that's all that is. You know, and the group of us that are the majority are saying we want this to be our home. We want Sycamoose to be a home, not a commercial endeavor for a few. And I strongly urge council to really give that some serious thought. You know, that we're a resort-based town, but guess what? Our ownership brings in more revenue to the town than short-term rentals. And we didn't buy in for that reason. And I don't think we should be going down that road, but I appreciate your interest in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
There's another individual online just titled Legacy Owner that would like to speak.
Could I get you to give us your name, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Eileen Doonan. I do own at Legacy as well. I'm not sure who said it, where you said, you know, respectfully, this is not a parking issue, it's a zoning issue. I agree, but they do go hand in hand because zoning does come with parking considerations. To address the individual who was talking about 164 stalls, you know, the fact of the matter is the majority of those stalls are owned by the developer, Sam Bogalipsy of Sable. And they are not at free reign. They're not owned by the strata. They are owned by the developer. He has yet to grant us any access to those stalls. So recognize it's not a parking issue per se, but Mara Lake Lane, you know, it really is a safety factor. The infrastructure today, just today, is not adequate for, imagine now you've got Grandview Shores, you've got Legacy, and you have developments on either side. You have an open quarry pit that will be developed, and you have phase 2 beside to the north of Legacy to be developed. What is Mara Lake Lane going to look like? There's no parking allowed on the east side. It's a feeder road into 97A. And today we have people parking in the ditch between the highway and Mara Lake Lane. So I think the consideration here has to be what has been done or what can we do to do impact assessments on Mara Lake Lane first. You know, I think that has to trump any personal gain on any of this. It really is a safety factor. So the fabricated 164 stalls that everybody has access to is just not the fact at all. And so I do implore the council to consider that. We've sent in pictures upon pictures upon pictures of what Mirror Lane looks like on an average summer day. And it's horrendous. There's, you know, if you look at your revenue coffers from parking bylaw infractions, you will see that most of it is funded right out of Mirror Lake Lane. So it's just something I would ask you guys to really consider. And to Mr. Shelfoon's point, it is a home for many people, and short-term rentals does impact those homes. So it's a multifaceted issue, and I would just ask that you guys consider all points before making a decision. Thanks.
Thanks, Eileen. Next.
We have Shane Monty on.
Go ahead, Shane.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to speak. I am also a owner at Legacy, and I firstly want to recognise the great work that the district and the administrative staff have put into the zoning bylaws. It obviously brings the district up to a modern standard, and greatly appreciate the effort and again the opportunity to speak on this. I think I would like to make really 3 points about this, and it is clearly a zoning issue and obviously a use issue for the Legacy. The Legacy was built back in 2009. The DA, the disclosure documents that all owners have access to when they bought in there, clearly has the developer's intention to provide those lots that each of us bought with the intended or the possible use to short-term rental. That's in the documentation. It was there. The district approved it. And secondly, I think, you know, it's fair and reasonable to think that all owners did their due diligence in purchasing there, and those documents were available. I think secondly, there has been a breakdown in governance of the Strata Council, and there was a number of things, and I appreciate the opportunity to represent the communications, and you did receive quite a number of submissions, but you know, the bylaws of the Legacy clearly state that the role of Strata is to represent the management of the building and the asset, and not necessarily represent a position around such matters as zoning. And that again is backed up by the BC Strata Act. There are responsibilities that corporation members have when they're on the board to act in a fair and transparent way. And unfortunately, there was a complete breakdown, which resulted in a lot of extra effort being submitted by Scott and the team to resolve this appropriately. I think the recommendation the planner put forward previously was to zone it MUR2, which would be consistent with the physical build, the use, and the number of lots in there. It's the only building in town that probably would meet the requirement above 4 stories, which MUR1 is clearly, well, obviously we can't fit inside that zoning just from a physical height point of view. I think finally, and really importantly, the Strata does not have any active bylaws that restrict the owners to opt into any form of occupancy, including short-term rentals. Those bylaws are clearly available, and there is no comment by any owner that says that we are restricted in doing that. So in accordance with the Act and good governance, to change that, all of us have the opportunity to vote. That was put forward to the owners in May of 2021. It did not pass the requirements to change any of the zoning, the bylaws around short-term rentals. And such, there are no short-term rental bylaws in the Legacy. So I appreciate this is a zoning issue, but in all good conscience and governance, the decision to move forward on the recommendation seems like the reasonable one. Otherwise, there will probably be a whole lot of extra stress and corruption that I don't believe the council needs to put up with. And of course, over time, if the owners in the Strata want to change the bylaws and implement short-term rental restrictions, then so be it. But certainly using a zoning bylaw to achieve that outcome is probably not the best use of time. Thank you for your opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Anyone in the gallery? Go ahead.
Just a question, I guess, for Scott. On the zoning with MUR2, do I read it correctly that the short-term rentals will be determined, they will not be supported by the Strata? Is that correct? I read that today. It's in the top right-hand corner of the bylaw.
Thank you through the chair. So we do have short-term rental requirements in the zoning bylaw.
It's right in the top right hand corner. It says it must be supported by the strata.
Yeah.
Does that mean our strata?
So in the zoning bylaw, there's short-term rental regulations. And then through our business license bylaw, we're going to also have some regulations. I can go through the requirements.
Looking at the bylaw today, and it said up in the top right hand corner, it mentioned that short-term rentals will be determined by approval or support of the strata.
Yeah, and
Is that correct?
in the top right-hand corner of the
bylaw page.
of MUR2.
MUR2, it's in the top right hand corner.
Right, so that's in the description.
That's the full description. The town has said that if a building is zoned MUR2 for short-term rentals to exist, it must have the strata's approval.
I think, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this addresses the business license. You cannot get a business license.
To run a short-term rental unless we have strata.
Unless we have strata approval.
But the business license is not part of the bylaw, is that correct?
Business license is not part of the zoning bylaw.
Exactly. So if we are zoned MUR2, until you bring the business license in, it won't exist. There'll be no enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. Is that correct?
So in order to have a short-term rental, you'd be required to get a business license.
Yeah.
So you can apply for business license and then we'd consider it. And so we have regulations in the zoning bylaw around that. And then we're going to build some more regulations into the business license bylaw and a process.
I guess to understand my question would be, can a building be rezoned MUR2, but the business license bylaw may take a year, 2 years to come into effect? That's what I'd like to know is whether the two of them are going to merge together, or is there going to be a big delay about the business license?
I don't, sorry, through the chair.
Go ahead.
I don't expect a big delay. And I expect a component of issuing business license would be support from the strata or short-term rentals.
But also on the MRU2, just your bylaw alone, it doesn't even talk about business license. It says that short-term rentals must be supported by the strata.
So
it's right in the MUR2 bylaw.
Yeah, in section 310.9, which is the general regulations of the bylaw. So, I mean, what the first thing it says is a person must not carry a business as a short-term rental unless the person holds a valid business license.
Yeah. Look at it. Everybody can have a look at it. It's on your webpage.
I'm on MUR2 right now.
Right at the top in the heading of the top.
How many current pro rentals?
Hold on.
How many current pro rentals?
Excuse me, can you just hold online, please?
Yeah, we're supported by the strata.
That's what I'm referring to. So that is part of that zoning, is that correct?
Correct.
Right, so the strata must support short-term. Right.
I think, yeah, sure.
I think your strata makes the rules based on the group inside and what they want to do, right? So, yeah.
I just want to be very clear on that is exactly what that is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No one left online? Do we have any more questions online?
Please raise your hand if you have any questions or comments from online.
Okay, go ahead. Mike?
Michael?
Michael, you're on mute.
Mute.
There you go.
So, sorry, on the, if the MR2 is going through and we have some bylaw problems and guys aren't meeting the requirements of the having the license, the business license, the Sicamous district is prepared to be able to handle the rectifying the problem for us and give us assurance that anybody that's not following the business or the proper permit to have short-term rentals will be getting addressed by the district in a timely fashion. And
I'll take a crack at this. Yes, if they have a business license. If they don't have a business license, Scott, perhaps you could, we police that?
And thank you, Mayor Anderson. Yeah, and we're actually gearing up that the business license bylaw is how we want to enforce these. So we don't want to use the zoning bylaw and the use as a tool of enforcement. We want to use the business license bylaw. We just feel that we can just apply the business license bylaw easier than the zoning bylaw, and hopefully everybody applies for a business license, and then we can add some conditions in the business license and then do the enforcement through that, or we don't issue the business license and it's a full stop.
Legacy owner. Online. With their hand up. I can't remember the person's name.
Eileen, I believe.
Oh, Eileen? Go ahead. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Okay.
So I'm just seeking a bit of clarification. So do I understand this correctly, that currently today, the bylaws to support the zoning are not in place yet, meaning we have not flushed out yet the mechanisms in which the business license will be granted. Is that what I'm understanding?
Scott, go ahead.
So right now we have a business license bylaw and we can issue a business license for a short-term rental or a bed and breakfast or an ice cream shop. We plan to amend the business license bylaw to add additional conditions for short-term rentals.
Okay, so it's not quite done. It's not updated yet. And then I guess the other question is, out of the people that are currently, I would say, illegally renting today at Legacy, have you guys done a look to see if they all have current business licenses within the district of Sycamoose to operate a short-term rental in a zone that is currently not allowed for short-term rental?
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. So right now, there are no, to my knowledge, there's no business license for tourist accommodation or commercial short-term rental in the Legacy building.
Exactly. But yet they've all written into you to say, hey, I rent. And none of them had business licenses. So that kind of gives us an indication of what's to come, I think, right?
So right now, there are actually very few short-term rental business licenses throughout the district of Sycamoose. So we started with education over the last 2 years. We've been educating people that this is coming. We've got instruction from our Planning and Development Committee and Council that we want to make everybody aware of it. And then in 2023, we're going to amend the business license bylaw and start a process where it's going to be very clear. People have to apply, and then we can start with our enforcement.
Right, but today you have firsthand knowledge of short-term rental businesses operating at Legacy without a business license. Right?
We don't have a lot of, as Scott just said, we don't have a lot of business licenses for short-term rentals right now. This whole rezoning process was to identify our short-term rentals and to ensure that there is some way to police them and know who they are. Well, police them may not be the correct word, but
right.
Up to this point, we're just rolling out the new zoning. So no, we're not, they're not built into our business licenses yet.
So it's okay to run a business in Sycamoose without a business license today?
Okay, Eileen, I'm not going to get into a debate. Everyone that runs a business in Sycamoose purchases a business license. Right now, as far as short-term rentals go, short-term rental accommodations, we are just starting that process to include short-term rental accommodations into that process. We're just rolling it in now. So
okay, so there was nothing in place before.
There was nothing in place previously.
Okay, so there was no requirement to have one before. No. Okay.
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 All right. Gallery, go ahead.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Your name, please?
Kaminsky. I'm a Legacy owner. And first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for sharing your meeting with us today. It's been wonderful to hear what's going on in Sycamoose. It's enlightening. I'm dying to look at the pamphlet that's out, and I love being part of this community. I did write in, so I won't go over everything I wrote because you probably read it, and if you haven't, maybe you will later. I did like to say, my personal point of view is I got into this thinking this was going to be wonderful to be able to be here in the summer to share with everybody that I am related to and to also rent. I was under the impression that I could hire somebody, as we did with the vacation rentals, and they would have the license, and then they would take care of making sure that all these checks and balances were followed. We've had nothing but great renters. For me, it's been a nightmare buying into the legacy. My dream is keeps getting shattered, and it feels like it's kind of like a bullying effect that's been going on. You take a vote, you win the vote, you take another vote, you don't know what the vote's about. It's been strenuous, and my daughter really wants to keep this place, and I like Sycamoose, but it just seems like it's like a little boxing show we're going through, and I'm sorry that everybody has to be part of it. I never knew what a strata council was like, and I don't think I ever want to be involved in another one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more online.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson. I'm a member of the Strata Council. I just wanted to, and we were just voted in just recently. And when the District of Sycamoose asked us to conduct a vote, we wanted to try to, there was a lot of emotion in the building, shall we say. So what we wanted to do was try to bring as much education to the situation as we could. So we allowed each of the different groups to present for 20 minutes. And then each of those groups then took questions from the other owners. At that point, we then took a vote. And the idea was that we would be that way the most informed group of people we could possibly get. And as Craig has mentioned, we also made it a special general meeting so we could actually have proxies speak as well through their proxy. We wanted to get the most number of people we could. And the vote was taken and the results were given. I just wanted to clarify because I thought I heard some other things being said. So with that, that's it for me.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak? Nope.
Logan Evans.
Go ahead, Logan.
Hi there. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Logan Evans, no surprise, probably I'm an owner at the Legacy also. I just wanted to point one quick thing out here, and I think it was mentioned by a council member on the mechanism to enforce short-term rentals. And really MUR2 is the ability to govern ourselves with regard to short-term rentals. The Legacy votes are not enough to restrict short-term rentals right now in accordance with the Strata Act, which requires a 75% vote. So some owners want to use zoning as the enforcement mechanism of short-term rentals, not business licenses and not our own Strata bylaws, which I agree with the council member, Scott Beeching, where I think he said that a enforcement mechanism should not be the zoning. And I think that's really what some members are trying to do by representing a majority vote of zoning in order to enforce short-term rentals. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Logan. Kate, go ahead.
Neither zoning will have an effect on STRs. So it doesn't matter which the zoning is, each one will apply to short-term rentals. There's no mechanism. It's just the town asked for a vote. We gave you the ownership given. And I believe that is the issue to decide here today. Thank you.
Anyone else online? Gallery, go ahead. State your name, please.
My name is Dave Summers.
Yep.
My name is Dave Summers. I'm the owner of the Legacy. I would just encourage council to ignore a lot of the stuff that's going on in Legacy. I mean, there's been a lot of politics that's unbelievable. I think the council should do what they think is best for our zone. Most apartment buildings and everything in town are MUR2. I think you guys should just go by what you should and let us figure out what we need to do in the building ourselves. And we've had short-term renters there, excellent. We have our lady in town that meets them there, goes through everything, make sure the rules are done, and it's excellent. We've had no problems at all. And I just think you guys should just follow what you guys think you should do.
Thank you. Okay, we have Clifford online. Clifford?
Oh, he took his hand down.
Oh, man.
He took his hand down. Anyone else online? Anyone in the gallery? Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
Thanks.
Amanda?
I just wanted, yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify some math that was said earlier when a comment was made in regards to a majority of the parking spots not being owned by the legacy and actually being owned by the developer. A majority of 164 would mean that more than 82 spots are not owned, which I can say is incorrect. So I just wanted to clarify that. I know you said it wasn't about parking. I'm just wondering, would precedents form, like precedents of short-term rentals form a basis for your opinion? Because I know we're aware of several people that are in the group of the 37 that are anti-short-term rental who have actually owned multiple units, some of which were used as short-term rentals and have even rented and continue to rent this year, although they say that they're against it now. There's a number of people on the opposing group who have said that they're against it, but historically have rented before. So I'm wondering, would that be of something that would assist council, or are you not interested in that information?
Thank you, Amanda. I think that we need to stay out of the legacy interworkings. We're here on zoning. So, but thank you for sharing. Anyone else online? Gallery? Okay.
When the building was built, the town zoned it. So I asked this question on the 28th. What has changed? Like, that you wanted, that the zoning can now be changed? Obviously, there was a reason why the town council zoned it the way they did in 2008 or 2006 or whatever it was. And now, all these years later, has something changed that this council would be arguing with the council of 2007? It's just a simple question. What has changed now that the zoning can be changed? To me, zoning seems to be a pretty strict sort of thing.
I'm going to take a stab at that. Zoning changes, and Sycamoose was due for some zoning changes, adding some new space, taking out some zones, adding new zones. So we were just due for a freshen up. It had nothing to do with, we didn't pick businesses or locations. The zoning just rolled out in with the multi-unit. We're not there yet, Ian. We'll get it.
No,
get into council.
Oh, no, I just, sorry, maybe we can also remind if there's other people online that they can talk about other things on bylaw 1000 as well, right? Because that's the public hearing is.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. Scott. Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, thank you. My name is Scott Pincock. I am an owner in Legacy. I did buy my unit directly from Sable Developments and have been using my unit personally, as well as doing some short-term rentals through Sycamoose Vacation Rentals, a local management company, who I was introduced to by the developer, Sam Sable Developments. Because that's how he encouraged me to use the place. I have a young family and I wasn't able to spend a lot of time out at Legacy. So it seemed like a good option to supplement some of the carrying costs, given that I wasn't going to be there, but yet I was still paying condo fees for not being there and using the building. I do, I'm one of the group that obviously does do short-term rentals, and I'm open about doing that. And I'm looking forward to seeing the business license processed. And I expect this will be a pretty straightforward process, given that I've used a business in town to do the management. So it's probably going to be pretty seamless for me to get my business license and to proceed that way. But as Amanda, one of the owners, had alluded to, there are several people, I think, that oppose short-term rentals that have also engaged in short-term rentals. So I encourage them, obviously, to participate in the business license process once we are rezoned MUR2. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike. You're on
I
mute.
guess when we purchased in 08, part of the process was we were going to have some off-site parking. I think that was a requirement by the district. That the developer does provide some off-site parking because we had, obviously, there were some parking issues. We needed more parking stalls to facilitate the getting the building permitted in. So there was off-site parking. Now, I do understand, I believe to be correct, that the district ended up buying that back from the developer. And we no longer have that option to have another location so we could provide proper parking within the building. And now we're going the route of going, let's increase the density here. And in the beginning, it was a requirement that we had more off-site parking. And now we don't have that. And now we're going the route of a higher congestion into the building against the wishes of the majority. Just for reference. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else online? Gallery? I'm going to call one more time for public comment. Okay, I'm going to call third time for public comment. This public hearing is now closed, the time being 6 o'clock. Thank you. So now I'm going to open this up to council. If you have any questions, and it will be a council discussion. We've closed the public hearing, so this is council discussion right now. So,
What agenda topic are we on?
Sorry, I'll read the recommendation. Recommendation: the District of Sycamore zoning bylaw 1000/2022 be given third reading this 14th day of December 2022, and that the District of Sycamore's zoning bylaw 1000/2022 be referred to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to request a statutory approval. Can I get over? Thanks, Gord. Malcolm, thank you. Okay, discussion. Council? Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, through the chair. This has been a real long, drawn out zoning bylaw review, and we've been, I guess, two terms ago, we decided to do this, and we're still working on it. So it is dear to our hearts, and we understand how important it is for all the residents in the community to have some order, I guess you want to say, in regards to development and moving the town forward. We got to recognize too that I mean, I know I've heard a lot of comments about we got to remain the zoning as MUR1. It's not zoned MUR1. It's like the Legacy is zoned. It's a CD zone right now. So we are trying to take a look at the uses of what's happened at the Legacy and all throughout the community on the channel. What uses the development is using it for, and past and present. And the Legacy is a tough one because I did go through all the process of permitting the DP with Sam, and at one time he thought it was going to be no rentals, but things change. I mean, I know it changed at Mare Landing when we did Mare Landing. We thought it was going to be all rentals, and it turned around and the strata said no rentals, and it's still no rentals, but it is going to be zoned MUR2. So looking at the resort, I kind of feel that it's the Legacy Resort is a waterfront development. It's resort style. It's been being rented out for the last number of years, ever since its inception. I think staff have it right that it is an MUR2. If we did zone it MUR1, MUR1 has care facilities in it. It has daycare, health clinics in it. It's not that. It's an actual waterfront resort, and it's being used for a resort for the last 12 years or whatever it is. So I do think staff do have it right. In regards to parking, parking's tough. I mean, I think every unit has two stalls, but why aren't they being used? I have no idea. The problem out on the street is it's not all the Legacy's problem. It's other developments over there, but it is part of the district problem as well. So that's why we have a bylaw officer. If you leave your car parked on the highway and expect it to be there when you come back, don't be surprised if it's moved. But anyways, I just wanted to say I support staff on the MUR2 seasonal accommodation because it is being used for seasonal accommodation, not by everybody, but it has been for the last 10 to 12 years, I guess. So that's my comment.
Thanks, Councillor Bushel. Anyone else? Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I just want to kind of echo what Councillor Bushel just said, that I think this is a very tough exercise to do as a town, and it's certainly tougher when you have the backdrop of short-term rentals, and I think all the passion that comes out, not, that issue. Our job here as the town is to figure out what is the right zoning for the town and what's the right zoning that makes sense in that area. And I agree with staff that you made the right recommendation. I think just the other, maybe one other point, I think I've been a strata council president. I've done it once. I'd never do it again in my life. So I certainly understand that. But I think, if I can give some advice, we're dealing with zoning here. Stratas are very unique kind of things. And it comes down to people finding a way forward. And I certainly hope Legacy and you folks will find a way forward in that building. And maybe next year you'll have a Christmas party. Thanks very much.
Together.
Yes.
From my perspective, I've also lived in a strata, and it's complicated. It's tough, and it's up to the strata to decide how they want to run their house. So that is up to the owners, all the owners, to figure out what they want to do, not just one or two, or it's got to be a majority and you've got to sit down and discuss it. So I think it's in your hands. I think the district has zoned it correctly. So yeah, I think you guys need to sit down collectively and figure out what you want to do. Anyone else? Malcolm?
Right after we vote. I used to be a president for Strata Council too, and one time only.
Yeah.
It's not the business of local government to tell people how to live, but they can choose where to live. And I just, like Ian said, I hope you guys can figure it out. And if the vote passes, I hope things work out.
Any other councillors?
Just, I guess, a question to Scott. Will there be an opportunity for, obviously there's a business license process that's to come forward. Can you kind of just map that out a little bit, or is that too soon to ask you that kind of questions? How you got, does that come back to council, or is that something you just put into place?
Go ahead, Scott.
So there is a business regulation bylaw, so that will come back probably through the Planning and Development Committee and then to council. I think the Planning and Development Committee has seen bits and pieces of it. We've looked at the applications and things like that. So in the new year, the council will definitely see that, and it's council's bylaw to enact. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So
go ahead.
Would that just be another opportunity for the folks to come back either at the Planning and Development Committee is to kind of give their input on how that process would work? Would that be a good avenue for some further discussion?
So through the business license bylaw, public hearing is not required. We'll probably use the Planning and Development Committee for that process.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, moving along. We have a delegation. So thanks for coming in. Thank you. We've got Wild Safe BC. Do we have Vanessa online? There she is. She's waving. Hi, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm just going to share my presentation with you. So everyone, I am the program manager for Wild Safe BC, and I am based out of Kamloops on the traditional territory of the Tk'emlúps Tisquequit people. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to provide a bit of information regarding our program and the work we have done in the region, and our hopes for future work and collaborations. So a little bit about the issue. Human-wildlife conflicts are increasing in British Columbia. In 2021, the Conservation Officer Service received over 36,000 calls regarding wildlife. These conflicts often arise as a result of human activities or behaviors that lead to negative interactions with wildlife. This can include leaving attractions unsecured that teach bears that our communities are good sources of calories. These attractions can include garbage, compost, unmanaged fruit trees, gardens, beehives, small livestock such as chickens, and even bird feeders and barbecue grease. Bears that learn to forage in our communities are more likely to damage property, become a threat to public safety, leading to their lethal removal by the Conservation Officer Service. When one bear is removed, there is another one ready to take its place, thus repeating the cycle. The goal of our program is to address the root causes for human-wildlife conflicts and increase public knowledge so that we can coexist more safely with wildlife and reduce our collective negative impacts on wildlife and their habitats. So a little bit about who we are. Wild Safe BC is a program delivered by the BC Conservation Foundation, which is a registered not-for-profit and charity committed to the conservation of fish and wildlife resources along with our habitat. Our program began as bear aware in 1998, and in 2013, it evolved to include other species that humans come into conflict with, such as cougars, deer, wolves, and smaller creatures such as badgers, raccoons, skunks, and even rats. In 2021, we had 30 local seasonal programs that support over 1 million residents in British Columbia with information and effective strategies for preventing conflicts with wildlife. We do this through our community programs, which are our education programs that use a multifaceted approach. In 2021, Wild Safe BC had direct contacts with over 45,000 residents and visitors through door-to-door visits, booths at community events, workshops, bin tagging, school presentations, and we also have other unique programs to engage the business community, such as our business pledge. This figure is generated from the reports of wildlife made to the Conservation Officer Service through our Wildlife Alert Reporting Program, and it's done by species from January 1st, 2016 to November 26, 2022. During this time, there were a total of 584 reports of wildlife in electoral areas covered by the Wild Safe BC Columbia Shishop program, including areas C, E, and G. In 2020 alone, 129 reports of wildlife were made to the Conservation Officer Service, prompting the request for a Wild Safe BC program. As more people live, work, play, and grow in the CSRD, it is anticipated that human-wildlife conflicts will continue to increase. The Columbia Shishop program began in 2021 as a result of the support of community members that requested a program proposal which Wild Safe BC provided to the CSRD in 2020. Area directors C and E were most interested in the program for their electoral areas. Area C had many human black bear conflicts, while Area E also had human grizzly bear conflicts. Funding was approved for a program in 2021, and additional funding was provided through the BC Conservation Foundation and from a grant from the province. The second season of the Wild Safe BC Columbia Shishop project proved to be just as successful as the first year of the program, with a range of activities tailored to meet the needs of the community. Here's a summary of some of our outreach that is included in our annual report, which you have received a copy of. For those of you who are familiar with bin tagging, it is where the community coordinator drives around a community and places a highly visible warning sticker on garbage cans that have been placed on the curb the night before collection day. Unsecured garbage is one of the most reported attractants in the Columbia-Shuswap as well as BC. Typically, each community visited is surveyed twice on separate nights. This activity has proven very effective in changing behaviors for residents in White Lake, Sorrento, Sunny Brae, and Eagle Bay, with 75% of the bins tagged in the first survey not being tagged in the second survey. Blind Bay also had a higher number of bins tagged on the second survey, and this area was revisited with door-to-door outreach. In 2022, there was a total of 379 reports regarding black bears in the entire Columbia-Shuswap region. It is important to know that not all sightings were reported to Conservation Officer Service, and this is just a subset of wildlife reported. However, the information, along with local resident reports made more directly to Wild Safe BC coordinators, helps us prioritize our outreach efforts. Of these 379 reports, 305 reports came from regions in the Columbia-Shuswap that do not currently have a Wild Safe BC program. So zoning in a little bit more specifically on Sycamus and Area E, it is important to know that some reports in Area E are also identified as Sycamus, as that is the closest community to where the report was made. And this is how we pull our data for these graphs. However, looking at the map, we can actually see more precisely where the reports are located. In this case, we can see there were several grizzly bear reports in Area E, while most reports around Sycamus involved black bears. And finally, we invite the community of Sycamus to join the Wildlife Columbia-Shuswap program so that we can extend more education and outreach efforts in the community. And this would include participating in the Columbia-Shuswap Wildlife Working Group and free Wild Safe Ranger programming for local students. And some of the benefits would help prevent conflict with wildlife, increase public safety for Sycamus residents, and would help educate residents and tourists about wildlife safety while recreating in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you for your work tonight, and I would just like to echo or recommend at the end, you said that there could be a free wildlife ranger programming for local students, and I know that the principals of the high school would really enjoy that. So I can mention this to them and they could reach out.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Anyone else? Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Okay. Where are we? So, staff reports. So the 2023 regular council meeting schedule. I'm going to pass this over to Sarah as soon as I read it. A recommendation that the pre-posted 2023 regular council meeting schedule be approved this 14th day of December 2022. Sarah, take it away. Oh, do you want me to first and second that before you take it away? Could I get a mover? Thanks, Bob, seconded by Gord. Okay, now take it away, Sarah.
Thank you. Through the chair, staff is recommending approval of the 2023 council meeting schedule as presented. This is a requirement legislated under the community charter under section 127. The council give notice once per year. The schedule would be published in 2 consecutive publications of the Eagle Valley News and Shuswap Market News to give notice, as well as posted to our website and social media platforms. And it's here for your consideration tonight.
Okay, council, does anyone have any comments about the schedule, concerns? So we will continue to go 3 o'clock community of whole and the Cal meeting and then regular council meeting. Sorry, Kelly, 3 o'clock, the public portion starts. That's the Cal and regular council meeting starts at 5. No, I've got this all wrong.
Yeah, so just for clarity, yeah, Sarah and I have been working on this. So in terms of timing of meetings to make sure we can have the committee of the whole and everything fit in an afternoon. So what we're doing is we're starting the regular meeting at 3, then we're moving into in camera, and then we have the public portion at 5. So, but then we're gonna have our committee of the whole, a separate meeting before the regular meeting at 3. So the committee of the whole will be, it'll depend on the committee of the whole material in terms of the time, because there's not a required posting.
Correct.
Right, so it'll be like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, potentially committee of the whole, or it could be smaller depending. We're trying to move more into the regular meeting, but still have the discussion there. So that's what we're gonna try to do in the new year.
I'm having a moment. Yes, we have had this discussion. Does anyone have any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, resolution, select finance committee appointment. Recommended that the District of Sycamoose Council select a. Is that where, did I miss anything? I'm sorry, yeah, no. Establish a select finance committee for the proposed 2023 budget deliberations, and all council members appointed to the committee and Councillor Gord Bush will be appointed as chair. We'll do both parts of that right now. Okay, and that the select finance committee be scheduled to meet at 9 a.m. in council chambers, January 25th, February 8th, and February 22nd. Could I get a mover? Thanks, Councillor Bailey. Thanks, Councillor McCabe. Any discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
As we were campaigning, we were told that we lack transparency as previous council, or even new councils. The community is looking for transparency and open communication. So as we passed, they typically were complaining about we had no input about this project or that project, where all the projects go through the finance committee and make sure they're budgeted. And for our current budget, one person attended all 3 meetings out of our whole community. So if we're live, I'm just saying to the community out there, please come and attend their finance committee meetings. They're open to the public.
Absolutely. And if you can't make it, call Bryant.
Pauline has her new note, not just kidding.
Exactly. Go ahead, Kelly.
And further to that, they are recorded and they will be posted online.
Perfect. Any other comments? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Bushel.
Stay opposed.
Okay, we've got a Shuswap Tourism Advisory Committee appointment. Recommended that. I guess we need some recommendations to start with. I would, however, like to put my name in for this. So if.
Sure. I'll move that.
You want to move that? Okay, well, let me read the recommendation that Lean Anderson be named. Be appointed to the Shuswap Tourism Advisory Committee and the Columbia Shuswap Regional District. Can I get a seconder? Thanks. All those in favor?
It's discussion, but whatever.
Oh. I'm sorry. This day is literally knocked the wind out of my sails. Sorry about that. Just, I'll back it up. Discussion. Okay, Carrie, thank you. Okay, now we're going to correspondence. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss in correspondence? Okay, then I will. I want to talk about interior health and our CMP crime response partnerships. I think that that's a brilliant idea and hopefully will be moved around the region more and taken, you know, as maybe best practices, because I think it's needed. The other thing I'd like to ask Daryl, Girl Guides Blue Lights, February the 22nd. Can we make sure that that happens?
We sure can.
And we did get a piece of correspondence from a resident, John Flynn, requesting information on a TUP that was requested, applied for by the church. So I think the process has been proceeding along and T's are crossed and I's are dotted. Perhaps Scott, you can address this.
Right, so I can, yeah, we do have an application at 554 Main Street for a temporary use permit. I was contacted by Councillor Evans about using that building and I presented the process to him. As far as the education, the recreation side of it, so that's the kids club. That is a permitted use in the building. It's the assembly on Sundays, which could be an unpermitted use. I think I did respond to the council today in October in a letter that or in an email. My interpretation was that you could even consider the assembly on Sundays an accessory use to the education use, because it happens less often. It would be accessory, but my advice was to apply for a temporary use permit. We do have that permit. We're gathering more information. Really, the information is more of a technical nature, and the applicant is working with the building official on that. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process, and yeah, we're moving forward with it.
Perfect. Thank you for clarification for some residents. Gord, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to add, it's, I know, John Flynn used my name in here and said that I have told, looks like I told residents that everything is in place to use the building. I did not say that to anybody. I've always told everybody there's a permit, temporary use permit, application filled out, and that's basically where it stands, but I never told anybody that everything's in place. So I just wanted to make it clear, John didn't have his facts straight. He should have phoned me on that one. And then, some of the other stuff that he has down here is a little bit personal. It's not, I'm not sure if it's any of his business and a lot of that stuff, but anyways, he's going through the process.
Okay, just as a reminder to all of us, this is a church and a facility where kids can gather. So it's an all positive move. So we should, welcome it. Anyone else? Okay, Malcolm, you got 6.
I don't want to sound negative or anything, but he's asked some questions there, 1 through. Well, he's got 2 twice and 3 and 1, 2, 3. Oh, those are suggestions, but anyhow, question number 3, I think I'm not sure if Scott has answered that or not. Is it appropriate for the applicant to proceed with an action which has been applied for before the TU process, temporary use permit process, is completed? That's a question that you asked, and I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Scott.
I think if, we'll look across the road where there's development has been happening and we've asked for a temporary use permit and the use has continued, and we've been working with the owner across the road on getting all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and the use has continued. And I think that's really a direction that we'll take from council. The direction I've gotten in the past was work with people towards compliance, work with them through the application process. It hasn't been come down hard on people and stop them in their tracks. So I'd say the answer number 3 is, I think it's been past practice, and I think, it's appropriate to lead people towards, a positive outcome, not some kind of action that requires more court time and more staff time.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Anyone else?
Through the chair, just on Kishwauk Trail Alliance, I know they wanted to make presentations, so that would probably be through the budget process, because they're going to probably be requesting more funds for the next four years.
No, Kelly or Sarah, which?
We have the Kishwauk Trail Alliance attending the delegation in January on the 25th.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's a wrap. Recommendation of the regular council meeting for December 14th, 2022.
Sorry, aren't you doing
Opposed.
16?
Sorry.
Public input.
We're just going to open this up to the public now for 15 minutes. public input.
Well, if anybody wants to talk.
Do we have, go ahead, Brian.
It was my understanding when we take a look at the map for the that the property to the west of our property, the Crown land, property to the south of our property was taken out of PLR, but it still shows it in that map.
I think it's a housekeeping thing. Banking error.
Go ahead, Scott.
So I don't believe it's been removed yet, but it had the commission did approve its removal, but I don't think it's official yet. So we can update that map when we get that confirmation.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online that has any questions? Okay. Going to call this regular council meeting for December 14th, 2022 to be adjourned at 6:27. Can I get a mover? Malcolm? On, all in favor? Adjourned.